Those in the left, do you get it? You've thrown around the word Hitler so much, it's lost all meaning.
And I don't see why everybody has such a problem with us. So many problems.
Yeah.
We're not all bad.
No.
We have other good qualities. Like, for instance, we're very punctual.
I think your phone. Yeah. Yeah.
It's going off.
Your phone's going off.
Is it?
Yeah.
For instance,
Sorry. I think your phone.
oh, that Larry David is such a funny Juden.
All right, okay.
it's a gift. But there's other things.
Right.
You know, we're punctual. We have cool clothes.
That's true. Yeah.
We're well groomed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we even can sing very well.
Really?
Yes, we have a song that we like to sing. It goes, Old MacDonstein had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he hid some Jews.
Okay, yeah, that's all right. See,
Well, I love that intro, by the way. I have to say that was classic. Yeah, I don't know what started the hold on just a second. The mini Hitler. I can't remember what they call him. Small Hitler, young Hitler, little Hitler. I can't remember. It's something like that. But I have no idea what started the whole routine out, or the bit, or whatever you want to call it. But he pulls it off pretty well. And I got to say, the song itself is pretty catchy as well. I actually like it. Old Mick Dunstein, I think is how it goes. Anyway, how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing better than I am. I'm at a rush to hurry up and get this started because it's already way too late, and I didn't want to go on this late. But after such a huge break, well, not break, after a huge time without any streams, I had to pull out all the stops and make sure I at least put something out because, well, to put it short, we'll just keep it as simple as I can keep it. I had an unfortunate crash of my very old and very long-lasting hard disk drive that I was still using as my main drive. At least as it goes for Windows and some of the more critical system stuff. So now the good news was I had backed up a lot of, including backing up Windows, but there was some issues getting getting the new solid state drive to be like to get the partitions to all work correctly and everything to get loaded that I needed. I don't know I'm still a little confused because I had like way too many drives. First off, going into this, I had too many. Instead of buying like one really nice large size solid state drive, I had like 4 small solid state drives, and I was trying to condense them down into one big one finally that I ended up getting, just one 4 terabyte solid state drive. And I was gonna have that running plus the other one. It's about 2. I think it's 2 terabytes that I have Windows on. It's having a bunch of issues. I'm still having issues with the 4 terabyte drive, but the 2 terabyte drive I fixed everything on. It's running 100%, more or less. So I was able to get everything I needed. The only problem was a lot of the video clips and a lot of the other thing. There's one other really big problem, but the everything for the sound for basically using NDI, which is the program that lets me take the source from a digital audio workstation and utilize that as my my microphone input. But The other problem was that, and this was really pissing me off because I could not figure this one out for the life of me, and it turned out to be something pretty simple. But um, my camera input was not working for any camera on any port. I have a four input HDMI four HDMI input uh, source selectable camera input, and I only have two. I've got a third one that I'm trying to hook up, but that one's going to be used more for when there's going to be a guest or someone who's going to be either co-hosting or doing a guest spot on the show. So um, anyway, yeah, the other two, nothing was working, and it turned out I think that this was it because I've had this happen to graphics cards before. And in case you guys ever have this problem, don't panic. I forgot I shouldn't have panicked because I should have checked this first, but um, oftentimes this becomes just an issue that builds up over time. Um, if you ever have a sort of graphics card problem where things start to get finicky and you can't figure out why, um, just shut down the computer, open up the case, take your card out, check the gold plate connectors on the PCI Express connector, um, and not necessarily on the motherboard, but at least on the graphics card. And the best way to do it, and this is a very important part, Um, use either a Q-tip or something small like a cotton ball or something like that, and get just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. And here's the important part: when you go to clean off the connectors, um, drag drag the alcohol. Don't make it like like dripping wet, but just get it damp and drag in the same direction of the strips. So and just do that like kind of a couple times, once, and then go back, and then do that for the other side as well, and then put it back in after everything is. Make sure it's completely dried off. Alcohol dries very fast, but make sure it's dried off all the way. Then put it back in, and if you can, make sure that you before you put it back in, try to get like either a. Oh, hey, that's what turns that on. Good to know. Haha, sweet. Um. Anyway, get a uh, compressed air can and do a quick once over of the ports and the whole computer, actually, if you can. Um, and that should do it. And actually, that's exactly what did it for the um, camera card for me. Surprisingly, that was all it was. But I did have the same issue, and I forgot all about it. If I'd remembered this, maybe it wouldn't have freaked me out so much. But I had this same problem a long time ago with a graphics card that I couldn't figure out. My friend showed me this, and it's just because over time, dust you might not expect it because it's in such a tight and uh, compressed spot, especially when you have something in the port. But um, dust can get anywhere, and over time, it gets really, really dusty inside those spots. So, um, yeah, it can even if you can't see dust on it, it's still worth because, truth be told, even on the capture card, um, I could not really even see much in the way there was nothing there as far as like streaks or any kind of blemish marks of any kind, like anything that was noticeable to the naked eye. But it still doesn't matter. You still need to at least clean it off. And there's other things that can come into play, like recent updates. And I know there was that recent Microsoft update. That hello, Eddie Madison. I'm sorry I didn't get back. I didn't see your post. I'm doing well, aside from the hard drive issues. How are you doing, sir? Is this actually going to work or not? It don't look like it. Hold on. Uh, there we go. Okay. Anyway. Good to hear. Good to hear, man. Um. Anyway. yeah, so that was basically the situation. I still cleaned it off anyway, and it still worked. But like it's not necessarily something you'll be able to see. It's just like I said, it's just stuff that comes up, and it's just general maintenance, unfortunately, and you just got to deal with it. But and luckily, I mean, I've had my capture card much longer than I've had my graphics card because my graphics card is a freaking beast. It's absolutely massive, but yeah, uh, that was part of those two things. The hard drive and the capture card were the two main problems. I did have another issue, which I won't even get into, but it was a sound issue where nothing was coming through the right drives. I was wanting it to, and I was really worried I was not going to be able to utilize any of the freaking plugins I've been gathering. And I don't know. I hope you guys have noticed the sound difference because I've been really uh, working to tweak it, and lo and behold, my goodness, I've been at least from what I've been able to tell, it sounds like everything's coming in very, very good by comparison to how the sound was coming in not that long ago. So, and I've been really, really seriously taking the time to tweak everything, um, equalizing literally every source, everything from different. I can apply them to everything from the web browser and whatever I might pull up on there to say Windows Media Player itself and whatever media player would be playing the source that the audio is coming from. And yeah, it's actually something I've been really trying to make sure everything sounds like. I don't want it to have that sort of dry sound on the input, and I've been testing it out from music, so I have the dynamic, but from like the highs and lows being real profound, and then the mids kind of being a little bit lower, to vocals where it's kind of the opposite. You need somewhere in the middle, a little closer to the low end, but well, it depends on the voice. I have this cheat sheet actually that kind of shows you someone's voice that's more like a tenor, someone's voice that's more closer to a soprano, someone's voice that's kind of higher, basically different octaves of different voice types, and where the settings should be on an equalizer for those different, as well as if you're recording like a uh, guitar, drums, bass, even saxophone, flute, trumpet, um, violin, piano, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So, anyway, that cheat sheet has been very helpful because, especially for radio or podcast or any kind of broadcasting format, which does lead me to mention that all the setbacks have really, really hampered where I'm going and what I'm trying to do, and this really sucks because I was rolling pretty well, and I thought I was on my way to get back on a regular schedule, and um, I didn't think I was gonna hit the ground running so well. But looking back at the last 3 episodes I did that came up kind of late, especially on Rumble, my goodness, thank you guys, everybody that's been watching on Rumble, thank you guys so much. It's incredible, and everybody on YouTube, thank you as well, because there'd be nobody on YouTube if it wasn't for my loyalists. So thank you guys also very, very much. It wouldn't have any. You're the only reason I still stream at all on YouTube. So thank you guys so much. I do appreciate that. But um, what it did tell me was that my goodness, if you just actually were doing this the way you were originally doing it, where you had a daily show, except for one day a week, and with the way things are going, I don't know, maybe that's impractical to ask of me at the moment. And hey, okay, like let's do 5 days. Let's do 5 days or 4 days if that's all that's possible. Anything. Just keep up a regular schedule. And hold on, let me adjust this. But yeah, just get back to the regular schedule. But there's just been thing after thing after thing after thing that comes up every time, and I swear, it is driving me absolutely insane. I can't take it. It's seriously making me go nuts. But anyway, this whole thing there's two things, and then we'll get on with the actual show today. But there's two things that are in the works that I hope will be able to kind of fulfill that setup. Because man, I've been with all that's been going on lately, that's been derailing and screwing everything up. I've had moments where I've been like really, really down in the dumps and kind of like almost sure that this wasn't going to be able to continue. And there's been a lot of moments like that lately, and I mean the long breaks in between episodes have been. I mean, it's always on my mind. It's really, really, really frustrating. I can't believe that it's been this much trouble to just keep up a regular show. It's unbelievable how many things have gotten in the way, and they just keep coming. They just keep coming. Um, but um, but every time I can't stop, and I end up coming back, and I end up saying, "Okay, I'm gonna figure this shit out. I don't give a. I couldn't care less at all. This is pissing me off to no end, but I'm gonna figure this goddamn thing out, and I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry to just, but I can't stop. I can't stop because I mean, number one, I said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I don't get into things like this. I know the humble thing, and the thing that a lot of people say is I do it. I just do it for fun. I just do it because I enjoy it, and blah blah blah. That's all fun, and you know, that's all fun and giggles, and I'm sure that's something they think that they're supposed to say. But uh, for me, that's not ever been something that I've been even willing to say, even if I thought it was maybe more acceptable, or people would not, people would take it more realistically, because I mean that's the way I was about the music that I've played and bands I've been in. That was the way I was about tattooing. That's the way I was about advertising, video and audio, editing, and everything that I've been involved in. It's like, no, I'm trying to do something with this, and I have no hesitation in saying the same thing for this situation. I'm not just doing live streams because I enjoy doing them. I'm doing them because I actually do want to try to make something of this, and I think I have the potential to do that. Um, if I could just get into the freaking the routine of doing the damn thing, then things would settle down to the point that I don't have any more issues. Because you might think like, well, if you're really serious, you would just do it. It's like, well, I really wish I could, but the problem is there's threefold problems. Number one, everything's hooked up to a very elaborate. I mean, I've mentioned this before as well, but I have like a miniature studio level amount of gear here. I have so much. I've invested a ton of money into it, and it's because of a number of things. Not the least because not only me, but my brother as well was very interested in music, audio engineering, studio recording, et cetera, and being in music and being in bands. We both were in studio before, and I mean professional studio, and I made it a little bit farther than he did, but we both have been in professional studios recording full length albums that in his case he got to release a professional very high end, high quality sounding demo. In my case, I started with the same thing, and then the next one was a full length album that was meant as like a um, well, we sent it to us. We, as in me, my bandmates, and the producer at the studio, um, sent it out to several indie labels. One was interested right away. But it turned out that, and this is why another reason why I'm focused on streaming too is it's just me because uh, the guys in the bands that I've been in, every single one, I would say at this point, none of them were really like they would say that they were dedicated, they would say that they were serious, they would say that they want to make something of this, but I think the actual idea when reality hit them in the face, like wow, that this guy's with an indie label, he is interested in getting you to sign, he's interested in having you literally do a tour of California up and down the coast, and you come back, and because the thing was the guy that was recording us, who was acting as both the recording engineer and the producer for us. Um, he basically made it so that when you're meeting with a record label executive or a indie label executive of any kind, somebody who is representing any kind of label, um, he really wanted only one person there from the band because it was from his experience at least that there would be times where bandmates would start arguing amongst each other. It would be very unprofessional looking in a setting like that. Excuse me. Um, and so he had this policy of having one person there to sit. And to be honest, we all kind of agreed on who should go in, but I swear it should have been me because I was I was the only one who was really seriously kind of really pushing for this sort of stuff. They, like I said, they both would say it out loud, but and they, I mean, the bass player and the guitar player, that both of them did vocals. I was the drummer, of course. But yeah, they would say over and over again they were really serious about it, and they were as so far as they wanted to sound good when we played shows, and whenever we had some kind of event that came up, they wanted that to be as good as it could be. But when it came to, like I said, when it came to the actual moment where you're about to kind of hit the next level of the actual process of doing this professionally, um, it seemed like there was something that made them hesitate. They really didn't seem to just really want it enough, and so that's been a major hindrance. And everything that I've tried to get involved with before seems like tattooing is another great example. I was one of the only people I know that went through. I've mentioned this before, but I was one of the only people I ever knew that actually went through a regular old fashioned, like traditional tattoo style apprenticeship, where it's done the formal way. You find an artist who's a veteran artist, has been doing it, for at least a decade or so, which is the guy that I was working under was 11 years when I started. Um, and which actually he's subscribed to the show, which if you hey Sean, what's up if you're listening. Anyway, but yeah, went out and yeah, not just him, but everyone I worked around. It was like there was this sort of vibe of we're all like kind of family here. We're all close here. Everybody's cool here. Da da da. And it seemed like that for a while, but then as soon as things got rocky, it was like, "Ooh, man, whose fault is it?" Well, it's his fault. Okay. And up until recently, which I actually I didn't know that this had happened, but I didn't know the actual truth behind the situation, at least. But when I basically got a bunch of flack for basically being the scapegoat for somebody who, when the shop owner was nervous about this guy that was coming in and complaining about something, and I'd worked on him, but I mean, there's a reason, of course, for everything. I won't go into details. I don't want to freaking bring up a bunch of things that would make anybody else sound like they were unreasonable. But the point is that there wasn't that big of a problem until the guy brought his girlfriend in. And the first time he brought his girlfriend in, oh boy, she came in. She was already ready to raise hell before anything even happened, before anybody spoke, anything actually happened. It was just like she just was like insistent that no, this is what's going. No, no, this isn't supposed to look. I'm like, okay, well, who's the artist, me or you? Like, what are you talking about? Like, anyway, long story short, that made him nervous, and uh, so there was a couple incidents, and that was the main one. But basically, um he thought it reflected bad on the shop. He called the guy that trained me, and this is the part I didn't know. I didn't know that because when he called me to he knew how I was gonna take it. Like he knew I was gonna be freaking devastated, and I was. I was freaking absolutely crushed. I didn't even know what to say or do. I just knew, okay, I want to get my stuff out of there, and I want to come back to the house as soon as I can, and just bring it back and try and find another place to work. Um. Anyway, but I didn't know that the guy that trained me, when he first told me what happened, he told me that he just told me the short version, which was that I just told him, you know what, it's your shop. Just if you want to do that, go for it. I didn't know that he actually had said like put up a pretty strong defense of me before that. He never told me that, and so I basically was under the impression that he wasn't even willing to raise a word of objection over it. Which when I found that out, I was very very relieved, and I felt like, man, we should have had this conversation a long time ago because I was really upset about it for a long time. But um, yeah, I've changed my phone number. I've gotten different phones, and I've changed my phone number like 6 times in the last 8 or 9 years or something like that. Like it's ridiculous. But um, finally, have a number I've had for a while. And anyway, um, I was able to get a hold of him and talk to him about all this stuff, and he was really relieved by the whole situation. I was really relieved by the whole situation, and I haven't seen him yet, but man, he had a kid when I was still working for him, and she would be, man, like oh man, about like 11 or 12 right now, something like that. Maybe teens. But anyway, like that. That's just wild. Now he's got a wife now. He was with a girl that the the daughter's his daughter's mother actually at the time, but he's got a wife now who he has been with for quite a while, and she wants to meet me, and he wants to hang out again. So hopefully I'll be seeing him soon. But the point is that um, aside from him, all the other people in the shop, no matter what they said up until that point, it was all bullshit. Um, and that's one of the biggest reasons why the show right now for me here, and I'm way off. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gone off topic on this so much. But the point is that I'm my own boss on this. I thought this would be a great fit because I wouldn't have to worry about that. Just the problem is that um I was this is another part of the sort of all in aspect for me that's a double edged sword. It's my biggest strength and my biggest weakness at the same time. It's like I want to have professional sounding equipment. I want to have the best stuff I can get. I want to save up my money and make sure that I've got the best the best equipment. I want to know how to handle every aspect to the best of my ability so that I can make it look and sound as professional as possible, and that there's not any kind of area that I cut corners on. I want everything to be done the way is the right way to do it, and for it to be as close to a professional product as it can possibly be. Um, with that comes the problem of you have to learn a lot about the subject in a very short amount of time. And I thought, at least to some extent, I have two advantages getting into this one. Number one is that I've been involved moderately, but still involved to some degree in studio recording and audio engineering before. And my brother actually studied it in college and was much more involved than I was in that in the field. So if I have any questions, maybe I can go to him. Well, it turned out not too far into the process that after we got to the level of getting past the some of the more intermediate level stuff, and he's only, and bear in mind also he's only involved in the audio side. When it comes to the video side, he has no experience there. So that side is gonna have to be covered by me entirely. But even on the audio side, I've reached kind of a point where I've had to look into things so much that there's not much he can really add to what I've gone through and what I've been able to figure out that can add to the conversation. It's really crazy, and it's hard to believe that because um, I've been self-taught on so many. I guess being autodidact is kind of the way I've always been, but it's hard to admit that because I'm always really always try to stay really humble about stuff like this. But the truth is that, like, yeah, I always kind of put this burden on myself to make sure that um, I have this huge responsibility to make sure that I get everything right and I do everything I can to make sure it's as perfect as possible. And it's just unrealistic. So I inevitably let myself down. But in this situation, like when I do an episode and it goes well and everything is the way I hoped it would be, man, I walk away feeling like there's not a better feeling in the world. That episode went awesome. I'm so stoked. That was so great. Blah blah blah. And it's weird as hell, but I'll be looking for that same experience the next day, and then something will go wrong, or something will drive off course, or uh, something will be messed up, or whatever, and or I'll just pass out and fall asleep um, because I was too hyped up on adrenaline and I didn't sleep the night before. Who knows what? There's so many things that end up getting in the way, and they just screw me up and end up driving me off track. So unfortunately, those are the things that have been just the realities I've had to come to grips with. But um, ultimately, once again, I'll just end with this. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Thank you guys for, especially those people who have been here for as, uh, like Eddie, Jay, all you guys, man. Thank you guys for being here as long as you have. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate it. And to anybody who's been here for Rumble or YouTube or whatever, once again, thank you guys. I can't thank you guys enough. As soon as there's a way to be able to actually thank you in a way that's suitable and fitting and of the level that is appropriate to you guys, so I can pay you back in some way, I'm gonna do it. But until then, I can't say thank you enough. So um, anyway, with that, let's crack on with the fun stuff. So the um the sad part about the time I've been away is that my goodness, I had so much to say about the Israel Gaza ceasefire and agreement. It was it was an amazing thing to watch happen. I have to admit, I teared up a couple times watching all of the hostages reunited. Oh my God, it was amazing to see. It was absolutely incredible. Um, I was I was not the one thing I think probably that sticks with me the most was I couldn't believe when I saw this, but I don't know how many of you out there have actually seen a lot of the footage from October 7th, but the one image that really sticks out in my head, that has stuck out in my head uh, over and over again from that day, was the scene of the girl on the back of the motorcycle who was being taken as a hostage, and she was turned around from the person who was obviously driving, and you could tell in her eyes she was scared to death. Because she knew what was about to happen. And I didn't know who she was looking at the time. It turned out to be her boyfriend, but you can see the guy, he's walking. There's two Hamas guys next to him, standing there with rifles side by side next to him, and he's looking like, he's looking defeated completely. His shoulders are slumped down, and he's like, I just giving a shrug, like I don't know what to do. And you can tell in her eyes she's shouting, she's trying to reach for him, and oh my God, it's hard to it's hard to go through. But um, I had no idea about this part. She had been returned. He had been taken though, and he hadn't been returned until this treaty was signed just the other day, just like about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. Was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? It was a couple weeks ago, I think. Anyway, um, he was returned, and the scene of them reunited was oh man, it was powerful. It was really powerful. It was amazing to see that, because especially considering God knows what happened to them while they were down there. There's the famous scenes now of some of the guys that were starved, that literally look like Holocaust survivors. They literally look like they had come out of a Nazi concentration camp and were gonna die any day now because they were so malnourished that were like, and when their family had shown their photos of what they looked like before, they looked like they weren't fat at all. They were pretty well fit guys that looked like they were taking care of themselves very well, and uh, just to see every single ounce of their body sucked in, their cheeks, their arms, their chest, everything is just this freaking just bone sticking out everywhere. It's incredible. But then there's the enragement, and I do have one thing I'm gonna play for this, just because the son of a bitch was on the last episode, and I'm not gonna let his bullshit uh come out, and if I catch it, I'm not gonna let it go out unchallenged. But I'll just say there are a handful of people that put out. The thing to me that blew me away the most was that Hillary Clinton herself came out and actually gave respects to President Trump. It was unbelievable. And yeah, I don't have to even speak for the people of Israel. You can watch the clips, but my God, the people of Israel went berserk for President Trump. It was an amazing sight, and this is one of those situations where you look at the situation and what happens when the president of our country is able to negotiate something like this. It literally has a tangible effect, like saving the lives of 20 live hostages that were still remaining in Gaza. And we were uh, we were given a choice almost exactly a year ago, almost coming up on the anniversary now, almost exactly a year ago, whether we wanted him or we wanted the psycho laughing lady who was a part of the last administration that got us into the whole situation in the first place, that made us a laughing stock of the world's tyrants and the world's superpowers that don't have the most um, Western friendly of ambitions, we'll say. And just the fact that the people around the world and in particular, even a group like Hamas knows President Trump's not going to fuck around. He's not going to take no for an answer. You want to see what's going to happen with him if you push him the wrong way? Oh man, that's not going to. He's shown it time and time again. He wants desperately to make peace and have an understanding reached between countries, but you don't step up to the plate and do your part when it's your turn. Oh, you see that peacemaker become the person you would least want to cross in the world, because and it's amazing to see what kind of effect it has on world leaders who, under the Biden administration, were able to get away with just about anything they wanted, and the United States wasn't going to do shit. And now you got a president who, not only is he up all day and doing the work of a president, but um, is very effective at that. And so much so that he can he can demand that Hamas release the last 20 hostages they have. That was the biggest thing to me, and I talked about this over and over again. Like, what do you tell the hostages that are still alive, that are still in Gaza, and that you just want to cut this off because you have a bleeding heart for the some sort of terrorist organization that uses the people of Gaza as human shields? I don't understand. And I get the idea that, yeah, you don't like to see innocent people suffer and die. I get it, but the fact that Israel needs to just stop doing it, like, no, Hamas needs to stop. It first needs to return the hostages, and secondly needs to stop firing rockets, firing shots, setting up IEDs, booby trapping buildings, terrorizing their own people. It's come out since they left. I don't know how many people have heard about the situation there, but there were several guerrilla groups that have come out that opposed Hamas and uh, thought that they have been a disaster for, obviously, uh, for the Gaza Strip since they've taken power, and have been having little skirmishes back and forth on the streets and firing back and forth at each other. Um, the ones that have been captured have been publicly executed, and I've seen some of the video, and they're just knelt and shot in the back of the head. If they're lucky, some of them have been tortured in the middle of the street. Some of them, I mean, Hamas likes to send messages, and those are pretty strong messages. Unfortunately, also, the remains of the dead hostages were supposed to be returned, and you know, as disgusting and evil as they are, I do believe them when they say they can't find all of the dead hostages because people are kind of arguing that Hamas has to know where they're. And I'm thinking to myself, why would they though? They don't care at all about these people. They don't care. They're useful to them as much as their bargaining ability was. So if they killed them and tossed them out in the street like a dog, they wouldn't think twice about that. I mean, October 7th should have been a pretty good indication of what their position is on human life. I mean, if that didn't send a message, I don't know what will. But ultimately, you know, the problem is that the families do deserve to have the remains of their family members back, and I don't know how that's going to be possible if it's left up to Hamas, number one, or if there isn't a way for some other group with some more uh, sophisticated technology to come in and actually be able to search, because this is the other thing they I actually heard channels in the United States talking about this, like this was a terrible thing. They want to start blowing up and collapsing the tunnels. I'm like, damn right, of course they do. And there were some channels even in the United States who were condemning. I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you? You do recognize, right? This is how they get around without being detected. And this is like, do you not believe people when they say that these tunnels have exits and entrances that are in hospitals and schools and mosques and libraries and malls and public centers? By the way, interesting point. The day after the ceasefire agreement in Gaza, there was a couple of videos that were created. I didn't save them, but because they were really really short. But essentially, what they showed were like strip malls that were operating, and uh, department stores, uh, diners, food courts, places to get different kinds of, like, there was a full and completely stocked open mall for people to go in and use for wherever they needed to go. And then there's Gazan people going in, and they look like everyday people, nicely dressed, like definitely looking like you know normal citizens of any other country. And I look at those, and then I try to reconcile this claim of this open air prison and the concentration camp and the 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 accusations. Well, I don't try to talk about this subject much because I know that I could probably be cornered pretty easily by somebody that knows the history of the region far better than I do. But I do know that from what we've heard from organizations that report facts without any kind of pressure from anybody else. And then we hear stats coming out of the UN, which, by the way, I don't trust in the slightest because United Nations has a group that is literally there to represent Hamas and represent the Islamic brother wait yeah, the Islamic Brotherhood, and like and of course, like there's a group for Iranian interests. It's like just groups that are there for every type of reprehensible, uh, like anti-human, anti-humanitarian, um, uh, terrorist organization you can possibly think of. The place is so corrupt and just rife with people that are as corrupt as you can imagine, and and so when they release stats, it's not something that I really even take. I take it with a grain of salt at best. Um, but some stats came out recently that made me go, okay, this makes a lot more sense now because when you hear the information about the excuse me the mass genocide of the Gaza citizens and the idea that that Israelis are going in just indiscriminately slaughtering Gaza citizens and Palestinians, and it's like something just didn't jive right about that idea. Like you don't you don't have air superiority and military superiority in just about every single way, from RPGs and rocket launchers to tanks to military, like any type military vehicles of any kind. You don't have all that stuff, and then send in ground troops to go building to building, the most dangerous way possible. If you're attempting to genocide a group of people, you don't do that. That's the last thing you do. That's like if you really are trying to get rid of a group of people, you just blow it up. I mean, I don't I don't understand the claim and why it's pushed so hard. Um then nobody ever really even gives an explanation of this. Um Now I do understand the concept of fog of war and things happening, of course, where there's either a Hamas terrorist that's using a Gazan civilian, or God forbid, sometimes even Gazan children, as a literal human shield, holding the child. And there's even instances that's been reported of them doing that while firing back at IDF at the same time. They don't want to talk about that though. They want to talk about they want to talk about body count. And anybody that knows like Vietnam history, one thing that was talked about in the United States over and over again was body count. We've killed this many amount of Viet Cong. We've killed this many Viet Cong. That's not an indicator of success by any kind of metric that you can examine in war. It's about how much ground can you take, how much ground can you hold, how many men are you able to keep under your command, and keep following orders and um, not leaving their post, not leaving the line, not getting pushed back, not getting pushed out, but holding it. Because in a war like Vietnam, and similarly to many of the wars that we fought, where it was ideological wars that were based on the idea that we were going to change the hearts and minds of these people. And it's like we're finally starting to catch on to the idea that maybe people around the world that have different forms of government, maybe they aren't interested in the idea of democracy being spread throughout the world. And that's fine. Okay, you guys don't want that. That should be fine. Um, but there's a difference between their form of government and the way that they act during combat, if they abide by the rules of war, rules of engagement. Um, and to a terrorist organization, there are no rules. That's what puts the IDF on very unequal footing, and yet people constantly end up coming down on the IDF as being inhumane. And it reminds me of Vietnam, because you hear the phrase "a baby slaughtering." Is like, did you not see the photos from October 7th? And that's the thing, is like people have consistently lied over and over again. That isn't really what happened. That's not really from Gaza. That's not really what happened. And I was like, really, really, because there's eyewitness accounts to it too, and that's of course eyewitness accounts are usually not good, not the best form of evidence. However, paired with other physical evidence, I think you got a pretty good case there. Um, and it's just you could show these people anything and they wouldn't bat an eye. That's how sick they are. But um, the overall point is just that I have I have some extreme doubts about what's going to exactly happen from here on out. The only thing I do know is this: first off, Trump isn't playing around, and he's not playing around so much that he basically has seemed like he trusts Benjamin Netanyahu in terms of his dedication to his own people. He doesn't trust him as far as doing what is the right move as opposed to what you would do in the spur of the moment out of emotion. Like I can tell that and I didn't know this about the guy, but Bibi was former military, former high-ranking military. As far as I heard, he was involved in some very serious clashes with some of the many wars with the Palestinian uh, different territories throughout the years. I didn't realize he was so embedded with the military that well. So it paints a much better picture to me of where his worldview comes from and why he is so kind of stoic in his proclamations and the way that he makes decisions. And they very much I can say without any hesitation he definitely cares deeply about Israel. There's no doubt about that. You can criticize him for his lack of empathy or maybe his strategies in certain situations. You can do that as much as you want, but one thing you can't take away from him is that he really deeply cares about Israel, and doesn't want to see it destroyed by a bunch of radical extremists that have been trying to destroy it for decades and decades. But anyway, the the thing about Trump is that he doesn't have that sort of doesn't have that emotional attachment, so he has a much more clear-eyed view of the situation, and you can tell he kind of is is actually able to stay really successful um, at keeping him basically from keeping him restrained from anything incredibly radical, and that was kind of shown a few times when he had to really chew him out for something that he did. But right now, it's a very tense and tentative time because Hamas is severely weakened, and you know Israel has done such a amazing job with Hezbollah, which was that was a major one. They've completely decimated the entire structure of Hezbollah. Um, the Houthis have been seriously demoralized and have been on the retreat for a while now. They've been pulling back from their areas where they've been strategically positioned. They've also been, uh, thanks to the United States on this, they've also been seriously, um, let's say, persuaded to stay away from the ship routes, the ship trading routes that go through. Um, was it the Baltic Sea? The sea that the trade ships go through to get to the sort of Arab nations in the region, and they're firing mortars at the ships that were coming through there. The United States has sent several vessels in and different I think different aircraft as well to target those groups that have been attempting to halt trade with those areas, and that's been pretty successful. But uh, as far as I can tell, I don't trust I don't trust anything that Hamas is going to do, and um, I don't know what's going to happen with Gaza as far as what they're going to do if Hamas is allowed to reconstitute in any way in the area, or if Iran is able to somehow, send them enough aid to be able to keep them from kind of just the last vestiges from sort of dying out. But the idea of the quote unquote two-state solution, as long as there's a group like Hamas involved, is not it's not practical. And this was what I was getting to, was it the stats that have been coming out where people talk about the amount of people that have been killed and how there's so many. Yo, Jay, what's up, brother? How's it going, man? I know you missed the beginning, but my hard drive finally crashed on me, man. So that's mainly why I've been missing in action. But so here are the stats for the people that have been killed in Gaza. You ready for this? 82% of the people that have been killed in Gaza since the start of the conflict have been males of fighting age, males of fighting age. Males in Gaza, as I've talked about before, they're radicalized as early as 5-6 years old in Gaza. Like they're already becoming propagandized and taught to hate Jewish people, hate Israel, to hate. Um, Good to hear, man. Good to hear. I'm doing much better myself as well after the last few days. I don't think much could be worse, but I'm doing finally much better now. Which, by the way, we're gonna have to get down on some. Well, actually, I have to ask what we have to get down on because there's been some new character releases, but there's also been some. There's been some mods, honestly, that have come out that are freaking sick. Oh, uh, and just real quick, just so you know, I finally got the arcade version of Gundam Extreme versus 2 Maxi Boost working for Technopair. I can't believe it, but man, it's freaking badass. Anyway, um, so yeah, so 82%. Now, call me crazy, but like I said before, if you're talking about a genocide and people like chunky yogurt with the Young Turks, the Young Turds, um, have been like when you hear him in an interview, he does nothing but say the little babies, they're just killing little babies, the children, the little baby. It's like, I get it, I get it. I don't want to see no one in the West wants to see children killed. Absolutely. But get your story straight first before you go on TV and basically dance on the graves of the Israeli children that constitute maybe so if the stats are half and half, we're talking about 8% of no 9% of the people that are killed are women. Another 9% are children of either gender. It's like, okay, so out of everyone that was killed, there's 9% of them are children, and most of those were people that were hung out by Hamas to use as a human shield or a distraction or something to use by the wider propagandized world governments that have some sort of beef with Israel to um, constantly use and throw in your face like, look at the dead children, look at all the dead children. This is all because of the evil Israeli cause. It's just out to eradicate all the peaceful Palestinians. sorry, if they're out to genocide the Palestinians, then why is it that they are so successful at targeting the military age men in the country and not just indiscriminately killing people? Once again, you don't do what the Israelis are doing if you're trying to genocide a group of people. You don't do that. The Nazis didn't say, just don't try to kill kids, don't try to kill women. Do you think? I mean, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's like and this is the probably the broader problem with all of this is that um, I was listening to Douglas Murray describe something very disturbing that he had. I won't describe it because it's absolutely nightmarish. But uh, he was describing something that was told to him by someone who survived the Nova Festival, and um, when you hear the kinds of things that the um, the Hamas the Hamas butchers did that day. I mean, that's what you do when you're trying to eradicate a group of people. That's what you do. You don't care as far as like their their sex or their age or anything like that. You don't even care if they're Islamic or if they're Christian or if they're Jewish. You just see them in the country that you hate. All right, you're killing them. Which that's one of the other things too. A lot of Muslims that were there as another thing people don't talk about. A lot of Muslims that were accepted into Israel as some of them worked for companies, others worked as gardeners for people, and particularly at the kibbutzes that were attacked on October 7th, a lot of Islamic people from Gaza still worked, and some of them, unfortunately, were the ones going back telling Hamas, yeah, there are this many people in this house, there are this many people in this area. And when you think about how sick that is, that people would go in and be working for a family or something in a neighborhood, and when they go home they meet with a terrorist organization to explain to them where you can find the families, where you can find the vulnerable people, and where you can find very little resistance and murder as many of them as you want. It'll be no problem. That's once again, that's another kind of evil that is just un unbelievable and hard to wrestle with because it's it's something that's hard to fathom for people that aren't genocidal. Um, hmm, yeah, I actually was preparing for it. I had an internal solid state drive that I had Windows transferred over to and my entire drive transferred over to, but the problem was it's complex. I won't get into it now, but I had a bunch of issues with, and I do have an internal M2 um, solid state drive as well. I didn't mention that part, but but yeah, that was still running. The problem was though that I was trying to make sure I didn't have to get another copy of Windows, and I wanted to just make sure I could do a one for one copy of my hard disk drive over to a new solid state drive that was going to be able to be my boot up drive and just have that be the replacement drive for the hard disk drive that I was getting rid of. But yeah, man, I've had that. It's a Western Digital Black 2 terabyte. I've had that thing for like 8 years, 9 years now. It was running for a long time. It was running very well, but I knew it was on its last leg for a while, and I was preparing for it. I was seriously, but I just barely didn't finish doing everything I was trying to do, and I think you know this. I have like 4 or 5 other um, internal and external solid state drives they're all really small, but well, not really small. They're all either small to mid size, like they're either 500 gigabytes to 1 to 2 terabytes or so. Like, um, not particularly large, but I have like 5 of them. And that was another problem. But um, good news though, also I didn't even mention any of this part, but I have a new case. I have a new motherboard that I specifically got because of a couple of reasons. But one of the main ones was that my current motherboard only has 2 SATA ports, which is really weird. I've never seen one with that few SATA ports, and the one I have now has 4, so I can use more internal drives than external, and I don't have to worry about that. But anyway, yeah. So that's another reason why everything kind of went to hell. The other reason was also well, if you watch the beginning of the video, you can see me go through the whole thing, but it's boring and it's just about that. Anyway, so the reason I'm even talking about that though is because our good friend Kyle and his merry band of assholes have come back to let us know what they think about what Donald Trump was able to achieve as the commander in chief and stopping this at least even temporarily at stopping the bloodshed from going on. um, the people that were there that day in Israel were treating. I don't know if anybody's seen the pictures, but they had those. They had one of those gatherings where people all line up in a shape to like either write something out or make a image or something. And sometimes they'll do an American flag with a big group of people on like a football field or something, or sometimes they'll do a message with a bunch of people in the stands or whatever. Um, on the beach in Israel, there was a large group of people that were there to um, basically uh, stand in a configuration. Basically said, I think it was either thank you Trump or welcome Trump. It was something like that. Um, but and they even had a side profile. Uh, they tried to do a side profile view of his face, and believe it or not, it actually looked pretty good. It was at least good enough to be able to tell it was him. But uh, it's hilarious that they were able to do it so well, and on the beach in the morning in Israel, like 6 o'clock in the morning, that's what they're doing. Pretty impressive. But uh, yeah, I mean, you have to have external drives, or at least extra, drives of some kind at this point in time. Especially if you're a gamer, because my goodness, it's getting out of control. By the way, speaking of gaming, I don't know if you've played anything new, but I will say, um, if you have a chance to play, um, what's it called? Well, if you have a chance to play Hell Is Us, that's a big one. Or geez, what is the other one that? Well, I'll just say Silent Hill F. Um, I would say both of those are well worth playing. I have been able to play Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I'm usually more optimistic, like Stalker 2. Um, that one I know people were disappointed with. I'm not that disappointed with it. I thought it was pretty good, and I'm enjoying it. So I haven't finished it yet because I've barely had time to play it that much. But from what I have played so far, I've been really enjoying it. Of course, it's with mod support. Without mod support, I really am not that big on it. But they have been implementing more things that have been helping it. Like they finally brought in night vision back into the game, and that definitely helped. But as far as like if you compare it to the later games or the earlier games, like it's definitely not gonna be for everybody that really likes those. By comparison, though, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, it doesn't matter if you were a big fan of the first one or not. Like it to me so far, it's just objectively very sloppy. The combat is really terrible. There's um, there's a newfound focus on like the stealth was important in the first game, of course, but like the way it's implemented in this one and over the types of areas that you're supposed to go through, as well as having the abilities that you have from the beginning, like double jumping and climbing up walls, and if you got to play the oh, nice, very nice. Um, Speaking of uh like MOBAs or MMOs, I've been trying to play Guild Wars 2 again, but uh, like with MOBAs, Heroes of the Storm is supposed to be being brought back into the fold, and support's supposed to be coming back for it. And I've seen a lot of people hyped for it, man, because I gotta say, aside from Smite 2, which I still am enjoying quite a bit, I would say maybe even more so, my favorite MOBA was always Heroes of the Storm. Especially early on, man, my Kael'thas, freaking savage. But Blizzard just decided, man, who cares about this? But MOBAs have been really hard. Good MOBAs have been really hard to come by recently. So getting one back that was really good, man, that's a really good sign. But anyway, I don't know why I'm not on the folder that I needed to be on, but well, I'm close to it though. There we go. Uh, so anyway, um, this is about man. I didn't want to make this a super long episode. How long have I done so far? Oh, I'm not too bad. Okay, all right. So let's see. Ooh, you know what? Hold on just a second. Let me fix something because I had to change the Stream Deck sources for audio and for my microphone and for the audio from the PC. And so- okay. And now microphone. Okay, there we go. Now this should work here. Yes, there we go. Okay, so now let's get on with Kyle Kuklinski. And like I said, um, listen to the appreciation he has for the um, for the finally for the final moment where they were able to actually um, just for at least a short while, even just for some period of time, be able to end the bloodshed and have a ceasefire that is going to at least see for a time no more people being slaughtered on the streets and no more Hamas terrorists running around trying to use the civilians as shields while they run away from anything that could be a threat from Israel and are happy to launch their shitty little rockets in. Anyway, look at Kyle's level of appreciation for what's going on there and what he actually thinks of it. I think this is a. Oh no, this isn't it. This is a different one. This is him bitching about where he thought that there was a fire at this judge's house who ruled against Trump in some case that was weird. And nobody said anything about the fire. Nobody said the fire had been caused by arson. No one said anything like that. But he rushed out there with a video, convinced that it was Trump supporters who went to start a fire at her house. And why? Because she had gotten death threats. Like, yeah, welcome to the club. Now, I'm not big enough yet to have gotten death threats, but like this is a very rare statement for me to say, but I'll say it anyway. I asked Nick Fuentes about death threats and and who gets death threats because man, or better yet, ask Charlie Kirk. Oh wait, you can't ask Charlie Kirk because he's dead because somebody actually did kill him. It wasn't just a threat, asshole. Fucking piece of shit. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting angry about this once again. I swear to God, this guy he's a real piece of work. He's a real piece of work, man. He just the kind of absolute delusion that he operates under while constantly criticizing everybody else with any kind of opposing ideology or perspective or view on anything. It's pathetic. It's just as pathetic as Sam Cedar and freaking people like Roland Martin and all the other fucking absolute hacks that are not even interested in the slightest about the situation. They're more than happy to use it as a cudgel in their political discussions, but they don't give a shit about the people that are getting hurt or dying or anything like that. It's disgusting. So anyway, what happened in this video? I know it's here somewhere. Hmm. I saved it to this, right? Hmm. Oh, maybe I moved it. Maybe it's because I thought the other one was the one I was looking for. Hmm. Let me see. I might have. Oh, I was in the wrong damn folder. No wonder I couldn't find it. That looked weird to me too. It was like, why do these all look weird? This isn't like the stuff I was. So yeah, now it's all coming back to me because this is all the stuff I was gonna play. There was actually another important section I was gonna get to after this, which I haven't seen the Gundam trading card game yet. That sounds interesting though. I've seen that. Man, I've been trying to keep up with the new Digimon card game, and they finally released a new. If you know me with Digimon, you know that I'm obsessed with the Dark Masters, and they just put out a new Piedmon. They put out new Dark Masters of each one of them, actually, all of them. I did get a Puppetmon Ace in the last set that I got, but they haven't released a new Myotismon or new Dark Masters of any kind for a while, except for Puppetmon and Machine Dramon, which kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm nerding out. Okay, all right, everybody, just deal with it because it's gonna happen from time to time, and that's just the way it goes. But yeah, no, the new packs though do seem pretty cool. There's Wizardmon's back. It's the first time I've seen Wizardmon. Which I do have. Like I have Angemon and his two other forms. There's a what is it? Magna Angemon and Seraphmon. Yeah, there you go. And then there's a new Beelzemon out too, as a matter of fact. And man, Beelzemon's badass as hell, dude. But okay, now this should be here. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. I found it. There's also there's also commentary from some other broad who I'm not gonna even bother with because she's just another shill, I'm sure. But since we talked about this last episode, in fact, the last episode was dedicated to this son of a bitch. We might as well do a real quick follow up and see what he's been talking about since I've been gone. And now that I'm back, let's see what he thinks about the actions that took place in Gaza and Israel, and see what he thinks about him. See if there's any appreciation in his show. You know, see if there's any kind of nuance here or anything. I'm sure there's no nuance, but I've seen the clip. So yeah, I guess let's just see what he has to say. As stupid as it is, let's see what he has to say. 'Cause, I mean, it's not. I can't make the argument it's worth listening to, but we might as well listen to it anyway, just to see, see what the other side says, so we can see how stupid they are.
In old-fashioned lifestyle. Look at this. Look at this. This is ridiculous. And this is what they're returning to. And by the way, let's also say this. If anybody is celebrating at this moment, when this is what has already happened to Gaza, that takes a special...
Yeah, like you and all your little bitchy friends were like all the little neo what's the word, neo-communist little socialist faggots that you have in your crowd that were cheering on Charlie Kirk being shot in the neck. Anybody that's cheering that on too, would you? No, you don't condemn that. No, you can make excuses all day for that, can't you, Kyle? Yeah, that's totally fine. Let's make fun of Kyle. Kyle. Yeah, let's make fun of Kyle. Let's make fun of Charlie Kirk getting shot all day. But how dare you raise one possible criticism about this sacred, holy land of Gaza? That's what he cares about. He doesn't care about the conflict. He doesn't even care about the Palestinian people. He cares about the political message he can get out and how he can virtue signal to his base of retards that look what I have to say. I'm nuanced. I'm base. Yeah. You're a cocksucker. Anyway, I'm sorry. This guy really, really winds me up.
Special kind of sickness. It really does. The idiots like that trigonometry dipshit. The idiots like Piers Morgan, who's out there and they're like singing Trump's praises. Really? Really?
Yeah, really. Because this wouldn't have happened, and this was already there. Do you have a time machine we don't know about, Kyle? Because that'd be nice. As a matter of fact, since you're so pro-abortion, we could, maybe not making any, making any threats here. Just saying, if there is a time machine, there is a possibility. So, but if there isn't, why don't you just shut the fuck up? Because this is the best that you can hope for under the circumstances. And are you insinuating that Trump himself ordered the bombings? Insinuating that Trump himself is the one responsible for Gaza? Or what is that even like? Piers Morgan has been a fucking idiot on Gaza and Israel for about 6 months now. He's been drinking the Kool-Aid of, well, there's just too many people dead. Well, okay, yeah, there's a lot of people that are dead, and that's sad. But Hamas doesn't seem to care. So maybe you should condemn them instead of, Israel for trying to get rid of that and trying to get the people back. Once again, this goes back to my argument about what do you tell the hostages. So, yeah, I know it does, right? He doesn't care, though. He doesn't care as long as he can talk in that annoying nasally voice he's got. His stupid blonde, stupid, ridiculous haircut he's got, where he's trying to look like Blink-182, except for gayer. Like, I don't know what he's doing with that American flag behind him either. He doesn't give a shit about America. He doesn't give a shit about the country. He doesn't give a shit about anything except for his little um, liberal utopia that he's dreaming of with Zoran Mamdani taking over New York, and he can't even come. Yeah, this says a lot too, because I'm not going into this. I'm not touching this today. I'll probably talk about this soon, but he can't even come to say out loud that he condemns the idea of a global intifada. That's your next mayor of New York, ladies and gentlemen. He can't even condemn the global intifada, and he went on this bizarre rant in the debates about how now no love lost with Andrew Cuomo at all. I think he's like your typical kind of scummy politician. However, I can understand and predict and deal with scummy politicians. Radical Islamic supporting uh, openly socialist politicians who are currently leading in the polls for mayor of New York politician, that's the kind I kind of have a little bit more of a difficult time dealing with. And so call me crazy, but I will kind of side with Andrew Cuomo on that one. And he was put on the spot in this debate, and his retort to Andrew Cuomo was, "When you were governor, did you ever one time go to a mosque?" No. I was like, Andrew, I don't know. He was the liberal side of him was desperately trying to figure out if he could think of something that he had done where it's like your answer to that question should have been, how is that relevant for the position of mayor? Like like what is going to a mosque and visiting a mosque have to do with your duties as mayor? What is going to any house of worship whatsoever have to do with the job of being mayor? I can do the job of being mayor and not know what it's like to be in like a synagogue or a mosque or a Buddhist temple or a Buddhist priory or any other house of worship. I don't understand why this is, but to Zoran, that's and once again, it kind of says more about him than Andrew, but like he just like on this huge tirade and acted like how dare you? How dare you? Not one time when you were governor did you visit a mosque. Wow, man, you really got him there. Like, it's just like, once again, no love lost, and there's plenty of things you can say that you can use to rip freaking Andrew Cuomo apart. That's not one that I would have put in the bag, but like, okay, you do you. It's a pretty interesting argument, but all right. Anyway, let this asshole finish, I guess.
Even if you take the best interpretation of what they're doing with this peace agreement, even under the best interpretation, this is hardly something to fucking celebrate. But also they're lying, and so that's not what's going to happen.
This is not a peace plan.
Okay,
this is a business
I'm not listening
deal,
to this stupid
and it's
fraud. So Kyle's delusional. And once again, this is just another sign that the people on the left they care far more about the messaging and about that's why they supported the college quote unquote protests, and because it was supporting something that was anti-West and anti-Israel. And it's not even that it's anti-Israel. There's kind of I mean, yeah, there's a lot of anti-Semitism in the camps themselves, but the Democratic Party itself, here's where the disconnect is. The Democratic Party doesn't really give a shit whether it's anti-Semitism or whether it's anti-white, anti-Christian, whatever. What they care about is the colonized narrative being continued as far as as long as it suits the cause of the people who are persecuted, and we can keep talking about the people that are always the victims of something. These are people who are the victims, are victims and victims and victims, and they always want to be seen on the side of the people who are the quote unquote victims in any situation. It doesn't matter what the situation is as long as it's a victim. And if that's who they are, then they're correct. Full stop. No questions asked. You have to side with the victim on every situation, period. There's never any questions or nuance or anything like that. So, that's why. So no one's talking, by the way, about this. This has been discussed recently. It's which country is it? Which African country was it? There's an African country, Central Africa, actually, somewhere in Central Africa. Geez, I wish I could remember the name now. And this is disgusting, but there is an actual literal genocide of Christians going on there. Worst one in the world right now, like where Christians are being targeted, churches are being burned down, they're being lined up and executed, or worse, tortured and massacred. One of the most powerful shots I saw was a group of African Christians sitting in the burnt remains of a church that had once been there. They brought in all these chairs that I guess they had in their homes or wherever else, brought them in to sit in a circle in their old church that had been burnt down. They sit in the remains and they're holding prayer services in the burnt out building. It was incredible. It was so moving to see, like, because that talk about courage, like that's courage. They know those people could come back anytime and finish the job. I mean, and they didn't care. They were sitting there in prayer. Unbelievable. And then you got people in this country bitching and moaning about how terrible ICE is acting. ISIS is taking people and bringing in concentration camps. The rhetoric, that was why the intro clip I played today was was funny, but also kind of poignant because of the literally the words and the terms that have been used by the left for the last 10 years now, longer actually, but the way they've been used so flippantly, especially in the last 10 years, has gone so far off the rails and become so commonplace that there's just no meaning or impact to them anymore at all. And that's a problem when the term Nazi loses its meaning. There's something wrong with your society. There's something wrong with your social dynamic and the way that you view your fellow citizen, because there's not one thing like I wasn't going to go into detail about this today either, but just to use it as an example, they had to twist every single story. We are going to talk about the shutdown. I have to talk about that. That was going to be the main topic of discussion for today. But real quick, just to touch on something else, the ballroom project that has been undertaken at the White House. They talk about this ballroom. First of all, they bring it up in every discussion about taxes, and it's done deliberately because they don't outright say it, but they're insinuating that it's a taxpayer-funded endeavor. It's not at all being funded by the taxpayers. Donald Trump and donors that have voluntarily come forward to help fund the project are the ones who have funded it entirely. This is all being done by them. And the other thing that's really ironic is that it's going to take quite a while to finish this. He's Donald Trump. If there's one thing that you can't criticize him on, it's his eye for construction aesthetics, and the man knows how to make a good looking building. The guy knows how to make a good looking like he has spent long many years looking at construction plans and layouts, and uh I wouldn't say he's like an expert at building. Obviously he's not a construction worker, but the man has overseen enough projects in his life to know what's going to work and what's not. And so the ballroom, I'm sure, is going to be absolutely like just amazing to see when it's finished. But the thing is that it's going to take some time, and when it's done, yeah, I'm not sure how much longer he'll be in the White House, but it's certainly not going to be. He's not going to get 4 years out of the thing. They're not even going to get one full term out of it because he can't run for reelection, and so he says that this is the case, and this is obviously the case. It's obviously true. This is mostly being built for future presidents. And when you hear of the way that they handle events now, like, because I didn't know this, I thought that there had to be something like this on the White House grounds of all places, but apparently, there's no facility or room or area in the White House that's set up to house large groups of people for like some sort of formal international ceremony or gathering. Like there's rooms that are set up for like some functions like that, but they're so small they can't seat very many people at all. It's really, really way too tiny. So if they have anything like that that happens, what they do, and this is ridiculous, but this is what they have to do, they have to set up a tent. They just set up a tent in the south lawn, and that's where they hold their big international gatherings. It's embarrassing that there's not a ballroom or something equivalent in the White House that's used for international meetings of some kind with some sort of major deal or international event that takes place. It's yeah. What they're showing you, and this is what's interesting. I actually, you know what? I'm gonna actually try to bring this picture up because a lot of people. I didn't even know this until recently. I finally saw a breakdown of this because first of all, if you're undertaking a big construction project and there's already a structure there, you're going to have to do demolition. You have to do some kind of demolition to take down what's already in place. And basically, they are knocking down a large section of the East Wing. You never really hear the East Wing mentioned very much in discussion because there's very little of importance that's in the East Wing. From what I've heard, it has such important buildings as the First Lady's office and some other offices for other cabinet members and a handful of other facilities like that. There's nothing there of major importance. I guess at one point, one of the Democrats' favorite presidents, Roosevelt, he ordered a swimming pool be put in the East Wing. Now it's been removed, but you want to talk about vanity projects and projects for you. Imagine, ordering an indoor pool be built in this section of the White House. Now, if it was Roosevelt, I guess the Democrats wouldn't have any problem with that, but they sure have a problem with this. But here's the part that's the most interesting because everybody looks at the White House, and when you see pictures of the White House, I mean, you see the main center building of the White House. That is the building that was constructed by in the early days by the founding fathers, and that building has more or less stood with very little in terms of alteration that's been done over the years, which is astounding, and it's still just as iconic of a building as it's ever been because it's not only an important building, but it's a very I mean, it's so recognizable. You could see it for like a split second. You know exactly what you were looking at. It's like, um, but when it comes to the East Wing and the West Wing, this is what's really interesting, and this is what I had no idea until I actually heard somebody break this down finally. Um, they're not even actually attached to that main building. You have to go down these two uh, respective sort of walkways that have an overhang, but they have a pathway and then this sort of like long orange tile sort of um, laid across the top of it. Like it's just the walkways to the East Wing and the West Wing. Now those two buildings, the East Wing and the West Wing, that's a building that has the Oval Office in it. That's the one that is the most recognizable, and for good reason. Nothing's being done there. Nothing's being done in the main building. The only thing that's being done is on the East Wing, and it's being done on the the farthest side, um, away from the rest of the White House. So the reporters, what they're doing, and this is so, I mean, this is so like like duh, of course they'd be doing that, but it's so devious and so like there's a reason that Trump has such a beef with the media. It's because of stuff like this. They show like these plumes of smoke rising, and then they show these angles where you can see it, but you can see portions of the main center building and then smoke rising or whatever. And it's meant to give off the impression that yes, he's like wrecking like the entire White House. It's like no, that's not what's happening. He's taking out a portion of the East Wing, which is it's just so representative of the media at this point. Anything you can say that's negative about Trump, latch onto it and milk it for all it's worth because that's all we've got. And if you notice that from Democrats lately, they have no message whatsoever. There's nothing they're pushing. There's no agenda that they are talking about. They have, except for I guess maybe stop deporting illegals. Uh, that one might be their policy, but they never want to claim that that's true. They always make accusations that Donald Trump is going after legal American citizens. No, he's not. Neither is ICE. Neither is Tom Homan. Neither is Christine Noem. Neither is anybody in the government. No, he's going after legal American citizens. It's so freaking retarded. Let me see. Let's see if I can get a overhead view similar to the one that I saw. Ah, here we go. Perfect. Sorry, I shouted that kind of loud. Okay. Ah, this is perfect. Okay.
Now to the growing controversy
There we
over
go.
the
Yeah,
demolition at the White
asshole. You're
House,
talking
and
about
all
the
of this
same thing I
playing
just
out in the
talked
middle
about.
of this government.
Here we go. Let's open image tab. Actually, I'll just save the image and bring it up. Oh. No, I won't. I'll just bring it up like that. It's fine. Here's what we'll do. Do it like this. Okay. So now this is the perfect way to check this out. So this is the south lawn right here. The big circular grass area. That's usually where the press will gather for actually extends all the way out to here, but this whole area is the south lawn. Because this is considered the south lawn too, by the way. The north lawn up here, that there you go. So and here's the West Wing, the Oval Office right here. The Rose Garden was only recently added on. They had a big problem with that too after I think it was Melania Trump, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been somebody else, but I thought Melania Trump had something to do with it because they're talking about how the Rose Garden was just completely like there was no like no planned layout to it. There was no actual thought put into it. There was just a bunch of roses all planted in this big plot of land, and it was all just like really badly kept, and it wasn't in any way something that would be elegant or like something that should be representative of the White House or anything. Anyway, so like I said, there's a West Wing. This is the East Wing. This is the area that he's taking down, and it's particularly this right here, this area, this strip right here. That's what they're mostly working on. Now, I don't know how much of the East Wing they're going to be eating into, but I would imagine it's mostly going to be out of this area here because if you think of a ballroom, it's likely going to have a balcony and an area where you can go out and get a breath of fresh air and then go back inside. And it makes total sense that you would do that. And this is what I mean. I forgot the names. The colonnade. The colonnade is the two walkways that go from the actual White House building in the middle to the East Wing and the West Wing respectively. This is obviously this is obviously a picture that is um, being used to represent the actual area that's being used. And I don't know who used this photo. I don't know what show it's from. Thank you for whoever actually made this photo. It proves the point perfectly. But this is what's got the Democrats going crazy. is this building right here, not the White House, not the West Wing, not the Rose Garden, not South Lawn, not the Treasury place. I'm sure they very much like make sure they don't want anybody touching that. But no, it's the East Wing. Maybe it's because Joe Biden was just resigning. I don't know. But for whatever reason, well, I know the reason. It's because they can use it to bash Trump over the head with it. It's just, you see that and it puts everything. That's the thing about every argument the Democrats make as of late, is that it's all just superficial, nonsensical, useless, meaningless bullshit that is so easily um provably like misrepresented. And that's the problem, is that so we might as well get into the government shutdown. This is the big thing that's on the end. This is the most ridiculously stupid, pointless shutdown in the history of the country that I've ever heard of. And I don't get it. I don't see why they're keeping it up. If you think it's because of people that actually care about workers that work for the government being paid, oh no, guess what? They just had a vote. I think it was last night or maybe the night before, where someone, a Republican representative, went to the floor to say, well, since if the shutdown is going to continue, can we at least make sure we fund certain government government employment, certain government, what do you call them? Geez, they're not companies, obviously. Geez, I can't think of the term right now. Basically, like the National Institute of Health, or if you're now the post office is still obviously running, but once and the military is still running, they're running without getting paid. But Trump did find a way to pay the military. Actually, he took it out of something. I can't remember where he removed the money from, but he made sure the military kept getting paid. But anyone with a government job now, what the Republicans proposed was that if we're going to keep the shutdown going, can we at least pay certain critical government agencies? There we go. Agencies that are kind of that we don't want to see people get furloughed or have their checks held and potentially not show up to work. The Democrats all voted it down. No. Shutdown goes on, and we don't want people to get paid either. So they don't give a shit about the government employees. They don't give a shit about the government being funded. They care about continuing this as long as they can, because they hope that. Now, here's the part that's even more ridiculous, is that by all metrics, they aren't blaming Trump for this. Trump hasn't been blamed at all for. As a matter of fact, his approval rating went up a point since this started. And the last time when he was in office, when there was a government shutdown, it was blamed on him. He went down 3 points. This time, that's not the case. And you only need to look at what the Democrats have had to say in interview after interview after interview to understand why. They use this ridiculous argument that this is about health care. This is about health care. It's about affordable health care for Americans. Well, there's a couple problems with that, but before I get to that, let's get into some of the video clips, because this is just like I said, this is the main topic for today. I barely even touched on it at all, and I wasn't supposed to even do a super long episode today, but let's see if we can keep this under 3 hours in this episode. So anyway, let me get to some of the clips I was going to show. Why did this start over from the beginning? That's weird. Let me see. Let me reload this. Okay. To everybody watching, thank you very much once again. I really appreciate all you guys. This has been very surprising to me to see how many people have come back and checked out my videos after they've gone through the live stream, and people watch them on demand. It's been amazing to see the amount of views they've got. I'm stoked by the support. Thank you guys so much, and the people on YouTube that are keeping me afloat up there. Once again, thank you guys as well. I wouldn't be even streaming on YouTube if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you guys so much as well. Anyway, let's get to these clips because this is just, I mean, talk about pathetic. Like this would be funny if it wasn't so like gross. Like I can't think of any other word to describe it other than it's just disgusting. There's nothing, there's no morality, there's no concern for any kind of cause or anything. This blatantly more than anything else, um, a an attempt at sending a message that yeah, we're willing to fight Donald Trump. What are you fighting him on? There's nothing in this that you're standing up as a position. Like you, there's confusion about what actually is going on, and it's very simple. They do this uh, basically because the Congress uh, can never complete funding appropriation on time. So they always have to do what's called a continuing resolution, a CR, which means that whatever budget you had in place for this fiscal year, you extend that budget for X amount of time. So you keep that budget level continued for about a month or a month and a half, or whatever. And while that's going on, you continue negotiating amongst each other what kind of funding will change, what's going to be, what money is going to go to agency, more, less, here, there, wherever. Um, that's the point of a continuing resolution. So you keep the government funded at the same level, and bear in mind the reason you keep it at the same level is because when people vote for a budget, it has to be approved like just like this process by a majority. There's a filibuster rule in place on the appropriations bills. So any kind of money that they use to fund the government, it has to pass the 60 vote threshold in the Senate, which in the House of Representatives it has to just be a simple majority. And so it has to pass both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. In the House, it has to have a majority, which it passed with a majority in the House already. So people that are asking already, first of all, where's Mike Johnson? Where are all the House Republicans? They're in their districts trying to help the people in their home districts because they did their job already. They already passed the continuing resolution. There's nothing for them to do. There's no government that's in place. And a lot of them have decided that since no one can get paid in the government right now, we shouldn't get a paycheck, which unfortunately that's a caveat and a carve out for people. You might not know this is a caveat that they decided to keep in place. God knows why they would actually want to keep this in place. I can't quite figure it out. That senators and congressmen, they don't have to worry about their bills or their money when there's a shutdown because they'll continue to be paid. They'll continue to be paid throughout the whole thing. So, but you know what's interesting is that people like Ted Cruz, a lot of Republicans, they refuse to take it to check until the government funding is reinstated. Democrats, no, they getting their check. They're getting their check. And you know, because she's been getting so much controversy her way lately, and because it's so undeserved. Why are you beating on poor Jasmine Crockett? Yeah, you know, how is she gonna afford her Escalade rental that she uses to get to the White House every day, or not the White House, the Capitol building every day to show that she's got the bling bling. It's so ridiculous. And then they try to say like this woman is representing her district. I'm like, what the fuck is she representing in her district? What the hell is she doing to represent her district in Texas? She's representing her district by renting an Escalade to get the like she lives like from what I've heard her rental is like 2 or 3 blocks away from the Capitol building. She can't take her car that she owns, which I'm sure her car that she owns isn't like some piece of crap. I guarantee it's some like ridiculously expensive car, but that's not enough. She's got to get a really expensive Escalade to drive her to the Capitol building, and it's got to be under the control of probably some very handsome, muscular, freaking, I don't know, maybe former Black Panther or something. Who knows? And then she's got to get like I don't know. I don't know if anything can beat the photo of AOC wearing a tax the rich freaking dress that was like worth like $200,000. Oh, jeez, these people. I swear to God, it's unbelievable that this is their messaging. Tax the rich. Statement I'm making in my $200,000 dress that was designed for this special event, the Met Gala. Oh, yeah, man, we got to make a statement. And Jasmine Crockett, well, she just puts it on her fingernails and puts resist there. Like maybe resist is like maybe it's a message to her staff to get the fuck out before she uses those nails on them. I don't know, but anyway, there's a lot of people that have been really heavily criticizing her because she deserves to be heavily criticized because she is a complete like I won't say she's stupid because she was able to pass law school, but she's in no way suited for office in service to any group of people in the country. Like she should not be tasked with the responsibility of trying to represent the interests of any group whatsoever in the country because she's got no sense of duty. She's got no sense of responsibility. She has no understanding of um, of United States history, of historical precedent, anything. She knows nothing about any of that stuff. But she knows how to generate, viral clips that go super viral in Congress. So that's what she's good for. I guess that's enough to get people elected now and keep their jobs and keep them getting paid. It's such a joke. Anyway, so I think it's this one. This one is particularly good because one guy who has really, really come out and is it this one? Oh, maybe it's not this one. Let's see if well, there is one I can definitely play, and I really like this one because it's featuring a congressman who is just he's like the perfect representation of the Democrats in the House, especially. He's completely clueless. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's always trying to get out ahead of everything, and then he gets reined in and gets in trouble because he gets a little too gung ho. He's not like a long time office holder. He's a newer member of Congress. But he's enthusiastic little son of a bitch. So I may play that one unless this is actually, I'll start with this one. This is a good breakdown. This is uh, Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune. Um, and this was from, let's see. This one wasn't super recent, and I think they've given more statements, but this one was particularly uh, it's pretty to the point, pretty straightforward and honest about the events. Um, and it's just like it runs through the facts of what's going on more or less. And whenever this was actually let me see if I can catch this. This was from not too long ago, October, a couple weeks ago, October 10th. So yeah, and bear in mind, the shutdown happened on October 1st. That's when the funding stopped. So it's been 24 days of this shit. And there's still, I mean, they've held votes, weekly in the Senate to pass the CR, and they're still voting no. My question that's been on my mind for a while is this was supposed to be a clean CR that funded partway through November. By the time they get this passed, that's going to be nothing, or it might have already passed November. They're going to have to make another CR that's going to go further than that to even keep up with the continuing resolution date that they want to keep funding the government until. The whole thing is just crazy. A lot of people thought that it would be after the No Kings rally when they had their little grievance party, and they went out and the George Soros funded organizations all handed out the signs they wanted to give the paid protesters to march down the street with, but that wasn't enough. Nope, we have to keep it closed. And I think the main reason is because they just think that at some point Donald Trump is going to do something that the public's going to be mad at, but I don't see that happening. Right now, he is really utilizing some of the best minds in his team for financial purposes to go through government agencies that have absolutely no purpose or are overstaffed and overfunded and should not be getting anywhere near the amount of money or resources or manpower that they do, and cutting those agencies and cutting their funding because once again we're $37 trillion in debt. If we can cut some programs to save us some money, hell, let's do it. Because usually the reason he can't is because the Democrats don't want him to. But that's the thing, is that during a shutdown when the legislative branch isn't in official session, um, all powers of government rest on the executive. So basically, Trump has more power than he would otherwise because the legislative is not in session. So it's just ridiculous. None of it. It's so counterproductive, but it's all about making a point. It's all about optics. It's ridiculously stupid. But anyway, here's that speech with Mike Johnson and John Thune. And then we'll go on to one of the most ridiculous self owns I've ever seen in my life. But um, let's start this here. Which, by the way, I have to say, there's still some complaints I have, but I will say this: for what it's worth, Mike Johnson, oh, as far as speaker goes, I didn't think much of him at first, but man, since Trump has been president, he's really come into his own. Like he's really come into his own to the point that, man, he's doing so much better. He's standing his ground. He's not backing down. They are not backing away from this. They are not going to cave to this ridiculous idea the Democrats have to only pass the CR if they get all this list of ridiculous demands filled. So, they've been doing the right thing the whole time. As far as I've been able to see, they've been standing strong. And like I said, there's not much that, the House can do really, honestly, in terms of like at this particular junction because it's all in the hands of the Senate. But still, I mean, you would at least see a weaker speaker, a weaker speaker, attempting to like capitulate, like President Trump must make a deal so that we can get the government reopened. It's like, no, he's not saying that. He's saying that this is all the Democrats for a ridiculous funding bill that we don't have the money for, and this is not the time to be discussing that anyway. So anyway, let's get on with this.
I want to thank Leader Thune for strong, principled leadership over here in the Senate. They have held the line and done the right thing. I'm so delighted that he keeps holding up our House product here. Obviously, this is something we're very proud of. Why?
Oh,
Because
hang on
it
just a
is
second.
a
This is
clean
on
CR.
mono.
And what
I
is
don't know
so
why. I wonder it's quiet. I was wondering what the hell is going on. Hold on just a second. Let's see. Hmm. Uh, oh, let me see on the. All right, let me see if this works. Sorry about this, guys. Hang on. Let's see if this works. Oh no, nope, that was worse. Okay, hold on. I might just have to combine them. Yeah, let's try this.
Is that never in history, never before have you been able to write that a party closed the government over a clean CR. This is the first time. These political antics are frankly ridiculous, and real Americans are being hurt. In my press conference a few hours ago, many or most of you were there, and we talked about how Chuck Schumer is very clearly, and the Democrats, who are his accomplices here in the Senate, are very clearly causing pain for the American people for their own political survival. And I shared a couple of headlines. I'll share them here again. Politico yesterday, their headline, quote, Chuck Schumer's critics are satisfied. See, he's trying to appease the radical left base of his party. That's clearly what's going on, and no one can deny it. And apparently it's having the desired effect. Here's another one. CNN reported yesterday, Democrats say even missed paychecks for U.S. troops won't be enough to end the shutdown alone.
Oh, Jesus. Hold on. Jeez, how's that? Okay. Why is it? This is bizarre. Sorry, bear with me for just a second here. Let me just see what's going on with this, because this is strange. Hmm. Now the microphone is, yeah, it's fine. Hmm. Yes, it is not such a mono for anything else. There's that. Hmm. Well, well, I guess worst case scenario, I have to play this one, and it's gonna have to be mono. I don't know why it's mono, but yeah, that's really weird. I've been noticing lately, for some reason, maybe there's some people making some complaints of some kind. I don't know, but it seems like YouTube videos and sites that actually host them are getting harder and harder to find these days. So some of the ones I've had have been really low resolution. Some I've been able to find had no audio or very bad audio or some combination of the two. I don't know. It's just it's been kind of a common thing that's happened over and over again. So okay, so this is really where it was before. This is really strange. Let's see what happens here. Okay, no problem there. This is all on second channel. Okay, what happens here? Okay, we're still fine. Let me just do one last test. Hmm. Well, there's one thing I can do to make. Oh, I could try this. Okay. Let's try this. Yeah, the microphone's not coming in mono, so that's really weird.
Call that progress.
Nope, it's still doing that. Okay, jeez Louise. Come on, stop. Where's the freaking there? Hmm. Well, here, we can try this. There's one other thing I can do, and I think this will probably work regardless, but see if this actually has the intended effect. Every time I turn it on, there's no sound problem now.
David Hogg, the former DNC.
No, apparently not. Wow. Okay, I guess I'm gonna play a different video. Because this makes no sense. This is really weird. I already played another video first too, so it's not like this is man. This is what I'm talking about, man. I can't have one stream that goes. Something always has to go wrong at some point. And yeah, that's life. But man, it's just like, you know, can't I have one thing that goes right once in a while? No, I guess not. There's always going to be a problem with something. Okay, let me try this. That's off. Oh, here's something I can do to test it. This would at least kind of help explain a few things. Let's see how this works. This is the other one I was going to play. Oh, whoops. It looks good on the levels, so.
Is not the.
Oh, geez. Okay. What is going on here? Jeez. Okay, this is pissing me off now. What is the I changed the setting for something. Oh, I know what it is now. Okay, hold on. There. Okay, that should fix this one. Okay.
Mother, who's in.
Wait, whoa, what? Is this set to, oh, hold on. This is insane. Why is there, oh, hold on. Okay, that might be partly what's going on here. Oh, I forgot. That's right. You have to. Okay. All right. One more time. Jeez. I'm sorry, guys. This shouldn't be a problem right now, but of course.
America for 30 years. She was going to a grocery store to buy
some there we go. Now
ingredients so
all
she
right.
can make meatball soup for her.
Okay. All right. You may have guessed who is going to be appearing in this next segment. If you follow Congress and you follow the people who sit on the House of Representatives, but if you don't know, let me introduce you to one of the most unusual and yet ridiculous and stupid members of Congress you'll ever see. I don't even know his name. I don't need to know his name. Congressman, I don't know. Just behold. Here's who we got. In the here's who people elected to represent them and their best interests in Washington D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, this is who people actually looked at and thought, "Yep, I want this guy right here. This guy that barely speaks English, you can't understand him, and he basically lies for the Democrats every chance he can, and already tried to impeach Trump. But yeah, this is who we want. We want this guy right here."
Well, look, militarization of our cities is not the answer. Just yesterday, a mother who's in America for 30 years, she was going to a grocery store to buy some ingredients so she can make meatball soup for her
But it
kids.
does have to do with the bill.
And ICE has detained her. She's now behind in the ICE detention center. I saw her daughter crying. These are not gang members. These are not hardened criminals. They're arresting 17-year-old high school kids, putting away American citizens, 4-5-year-old American citizens, kids who are suffering from leukemia in the ICE detention center, losing their doctor's appointments. You can talk all about gang members. You know, nobody. Everybody wants
no, I wouldn't talk about that. Look, just to stop you there, but you know, I want to talk specifically about the deployment of federal troops, not necessarily the wider separate issue of what ICE is doing with undocumented people in the United States. I've debated that a lot. We can touch on that in a moment, but just specifically on the deployment of federal troops in states which are not DC, where obviously the federal government can do that. The president has that power.
Really quick,
there is this raging argument now about whether
this is so stupid because every state has a national guard that, you know, like why do you think when is it like Texas National Guard, Florida National Guard? There's National Guard for pretty much every state. And if the president didn't have the ability to oversee what those agencies were doing, why is he the commander in chief of the armed forces? Like, sure, it's a domestic force, but it's there specifically to keep the peace and to prevent the circumvention of the law. In particular, the most famous case that people have been citing lately is a case in the 60s. It was made famous by Forrest Gump. Once again, another scene that was from that movie that kind of makes its way into real life, where there were kids in Arkansas who were black, who were young adults trying to get into college, and they were black. They weren't supposed to be blocked after the Civil Rights Act had been passed, and the state was trying to prevent them from getting into the college, but the National Guard had to be deployed to make sure that they were allowed to go onto campus. That's what the National Guard is for. I don't care how much the blue state, governors are going crazy. You are allowing the judges and the district attorneys to decide not to enforce federal law passed by Congress, to remove illegal people from the country, people who are not meant to be here legally. They can be removed under the federal law, especially after they've already been, like anybody that wants to make the ridiculous asylum argument, almost everybody that they've gone after are people who have already had a final notice of removal. They've had their attempt to, be approved or denied on the basis of asylum, and they've been denied, had a final notice of removal, and then they just disappear. And the worst part is they appear in jails after they get arrested for usually something petty, but it can be something serious like drunk driving or manslaughter, even something really serious. And ICE will hear about this. They'll want a detainer put on. I've explained this before many times. ICE will call, ask to have a detainer put on them, and ask to be allowed into their jails to come down, pick them up, and deport them. And as soon as they make the call, they'll release them from the prison, let them back out into the community. ICE will show up. They'll be like, "Where is he? Oh, he's gone." And that's the way they do it. They do that specifically to circumvent them deporting illegal aliens. And once again, they bitch and moan when ICE has to go out into the community to find the people that have broken the law, that are dangerous people, that usually have a much longer rap sheet than just one time being arrested. And these are the people the Democrats are fighting for. So when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, they can say all the nice words they want about the poor people that are getting caught up in these raids by ICE. It's like, first of all, no. They don't just randomly pick people up off the street. You can call it racial profiling, but I'm sorry, the facts are the facts. And if it's a Hispanic guy they're looking for, they're going to be looking for a Hispanic guy. That's just the way. They're not going to grab a white guy and be like, maybe this is our suspect if the report is looking for someone who's Hispanic. So anyway, there's that. And then on top of that, they deliberately and very specifically are doing this to avoid having to deport illegal citizens who have already been busted and committed another crime on top of getting into the country illegally. So it's not like they say all the time, and they try to sway everybody's opinion by saying these are just people that are here. The only crime they committed was just coming into the country for to find work, and no, they came into the country to mooch off of our very generous social safety net that they shouldn't have access to at all, and then use it to you know go out and beat the shit out of old ladies, rape women, like we all know what's happened. There's all this crazy shit that's happened. It's unreal, and these are the people that they will just let back out in the community, and then they demonize ICE for having to go out and find these people. And so, in case you're wondering what they're talking about here with the National Guard, what choice does Trump have? The choice is either that or letting the citizens of that state get terrorized, victimized, and watch crime spike out of control, because as long as they're keeping illegals in their state that they can use as voting blocks, then they don't really care. It's sick. It's absolutely disgusting. And so anyway, that's they don't want to talk about that, though. They never want to talk about that. They want to give all these examples of all these poor innocent people that, sorry, there's been no, I'm sure there may have been a case that has a mistaken identity case where an American citizen of some kind has been accidentally picked up. I almost guarantee you that they have not even made it to the deportation process before they recognized, oh, he actually is an American citizen. It's not a nice thing, but bring him to court. I'm sure the judge will be sympathetic, and you'll win a shit ton of money for your troubles. There you go. I mean, what else can you do? There's a goddamn crisis going on that we can't do anything about because the blue state fucking governors are deciding, no, we won't deport anybody. Sorry, how about you follow the damn law, and instead of looking out for illegals, you look out for your own citizens. And there are some people, especially, this is the best part, because these people end up in the neighborhoods where the most poverty is, and the most underserved American citizens, which usually constitute Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, anyone who's ending up in like low income housing, which I say Asian Americans, it's kind of a split there with Asian Americans. There's a lot of very successful Asian Americans, and then there's a lot of very low economic success level Asian Americans, and then they usually end up in these areas with the same sorts of issues. But the point is that those are the people that have to live alongside with the illegal immigrants who come from, God knows what country, and usually they've been emptied out of a prison in that country, which that's what Trump talks about all the time. Venezuela in particular is kind of notorious for releasing a bunch of people from their prisons because they couldn't afford to keep all that many people incarcerated, and they just released them into the United States, and there you go, problem solved. Sorry, no, that's not the problem solved, because now we have to deal with these people who have been, obviously have a record of crime, and they get here and they do the same thing they would have done in their home country, but we're supposed to think that they're all just these innocent asylum seekers that are going to go on to one day be Nobel Prize winners and doctors and, who knows what else. None of them could possibly be. It's just insane. And you can say it's anecdotal to say this kind of thing, but the point is that, once again, we see way too many cases now. I see cases all the time now of someone being killed, someone being, whether it's intentional or not. The truth of the matter is, if that person was not illegally in the country, the citizen would be alive. And it's as simple as that. I mean, there's no way to argue around that fact. So if the person had been able to be released, like ICE had been likely trying to do, instead of being protected by fat ass JB Pritzker or hair gel Governor freaking Newsom, these people would be removed. But they have too much sympathy for the people who are probably going to vote blue because the blues are the ones that let them in and made sure that they didn't have to leave. It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. But anyway, let's listen to Congressman Dumbass. Well, actually, I think Michael's about to speak now, so let's go.
Whether it is constitutional, whether it is lawful for the President of the United States to do what Trump is now rolling out in places like Chicago. What is your view of that?
It's not only not legal, it's not only unconstitutional, but more importantly, it's not even good business because this costs so much putting federal troops in cities. Instead of that, if federal government can give the grants so that local police, law enforcement can hire more people. Right now, they are severely understaffed. They don't have the resources they need to keep our cities safe. Now, in a long-term process...
But aren't you answering your question? I mean, aren't you
I think you're
making
the point.
Right. I mean, in a way, what you just said is the rationale for doing it, isn't it? I mean, they're under-resourced. No. They don't have enough people. No. They can't control the crime. No. Donald Trump is recognizing this, and he's doing something about it. And I'm curious about how many regular Americans who live in some of these very crime-ridden inner cities in America are really as opposed to it as you sound like you are, because if you've got a lot of crime going on around you and the police are woefully under-resourced, why would you object to seeing some troops on the streets to just try and restore order and perhaps send a real message to criminals?
Congressman, are you familiar with the Insurrection Act?
Yes, I am. Beautiful. Yes, I am.
And this so what do you think that's for? You said that this was illegal. You said it was not unconstitutional and illegal for the federal government to send National Guard into cities and states. What do you think the Insurrection Act is for?
Well, look, this is a issue that the local government should be handling. It is this
no,
is
an
issue.
But what is the answer to my... I don't think you understand the Insurrection Act.
Right, to Michael's... well, let me just ask, Congressman, do you actually know what the Insurrection Act says?
Oh, this is hilarious. This is great.
Yes, but this is...
Well, hang on. What does it say?
Well, look, what we saw happen in January 6th in the Congress, that's insurrection.
No, that's not the question. The question is, are you familiar? Obviously, the government is citing the Insurrection Act as...
You can't help but bring up January 6th when the word insurrection comes up. We got to bring up January 6th. Oh, no. But I think you're talking about insurrection and not the Insurrection Act. You see, there's a modifier at the end there. So let's stay on topic here. Come on. Don't let me down. You're supposed to be representing the people here.
The empowerment to do what it's doing. Are you familiar with what the Insurrection Act allows?
Yes, I am. But look, this president has used all kinds of excuses to break the law. This president has used...
No, but that is the law. So what is the law, Congressman? You say you're familiar with the Insurrection Act, but you don't seem to be able to describe what it does, and you're actually contradicting it. So what do you think the Insurrection Act does?
Look, the issue here is that we need our cities safe. Americans want...
Well, Congressman, with all due respect, that's not an answer to the question. I mean, if you don't look...
Can you lay out what you believe allows Donald Trump to act so unlawfully?
Well, hang on. Jack, I'm going to come to you very shortly. But just to be clear, Congressman, it's a pretty simple question that Michael posed, which is the government are citing the Insurrection Act as the rationale and the legal tool by which they can do what they're doing. You said it's illegal and wrong, and they shouldn't be doing it. But you seem to be struggling to explain what the Insurrection Act actually is. And Michael, quite rightly, is saying, well, can you just tell us?
Well, whatever it is, when the National Guards are picking up trash and the National Guards are watering the flowers, that is not Insurrection Act, and that's not what this is meant to be.
But do you know what it is, the Act?
Yeah.
What is it?
When there is an insurrection, the government has powers to use military, use reserves to address those situations. And This is clearly not the situation here.
Clearly
what you
not
need to
the
do
situation.
is empower local law enforcement.
Okay, Michael, your response to that?
I think the congressman might be a little bit confused.
See, once again, it's like this is the problem with everything they've been saying lately, whether it comes to the continuing resolution and the funding of the government, whether it comes to ICE and the sanctuary city laws and the way that they want to prevent ICE from doing their job. There's all these. Actually, we'll get to this in a later episode about the masks with ICE and how they're trying to still intimidate ICE, but this is clearly like one of those situations where he's sitting here saying, "Well, this is supposed to be a job for the local police." It's like, okay, first of all, they're understaffed, which that's part of the problem, but that's not the only problem because they're not even mentioning the fact that, okay, even if they do have a police force, even if it is sufficient, the police force are all like they all have their arms tied behind their back. They aren't allowed to enforce federal law. They're being prevented from enforcing federal law by the local district attorneys that are telling them we won't prosecute the cases, so don't arrest them, because if they arrest them, they're just going to not prosecute them and it's going to be for nothing. They're going to release them back out, and they're probably going to have some sort of political stunt pulled where they're going to be reprimanded, and who knows what kind of punishment they'll have to be um, you know, having to be putting up with for a while until they're finally able to just go back out and do their job regularly again. But that's the wider problem, is that even if they have the police are prevented from, like in Portland is a perfect example. That's why I can't remember his name, but the journalist who got beat up by Antifa, as soon as he got over to the police, they arrested him. They didn't go after Antifa. They went after the reporter. They just decided to arrest him because he was agitating. It's sick. It's so perverse and a complete distortion of everything that law enforcement is supposed to be for. And then they want to complain when they want to use the National Guard. And it's because, well, then they're going to end up, because the only thing they have is that, well, our police aren't here to enforce federal law. They're not here to enforce what Donald Trump wants. But actually, yes, they do. There's something called the Supremacy Clause, which means that if it's federal law, then that supersedes local jurisdictional law. And yeah, they do have to enforce those laws. And if you prevent them from enforcing them, you're lucky. See, this is why, I mean, if we were playing by the Democrat playbook, this is what would happen. Every governor in the states doing this would be arrested and brought up under charges of conspiracy to commit insurrection. They would be held without bail by a left-wing judge that was appointed during either the Obama or Biden administration. Their attorney general and their deputy governor, or the assistant governor, what's it called? Like Gretchen Whitmer was originally the governor, deputy governor. Is that what it's called, deputy governor? Basically, the second person in charge, next to the governor of the state. I can't remember the title. Anyway, that person would be arrested too. And like, this is what the leftists do when they're in charge. They took the FBI would be going after them. The entire Department of Justice would be bringing the hammer down on all of them. They'd find the most leftist of left-wing judges and left-wing prosecutors to go after them, and they would hold them under all these charges, and then they'd install their own freaking mayors and not mayors, I'm sorry, governors that would that run the cities exactly the way they want them to. The right will instead not do anything about the governors, not do anything about the attorney generals. Instead, they'll use ICE, and if ICE fails, they'll try to use the National Guard. And then as they do that, they'll have a bunch of propagandist ads against them by legacy media and by a bunch of Democrat freaking shills and people like this cocksucker on the right over here who is, yeah, he's on social media, but he's lesser known, but he's no better than Kyle the cocksucker. And because all he does is just push the leftist propaganda that they are desperately trying to push in mainstream media. It's the same thing. It's nothing but left-wing talking points that have no real basis in fact or reality, and just excuse after excuse after excuse of why they can't do this, why they can't do that. Or Donald Trump doesn't have unilateral authority, and you notice they try so hard to paint him as this dictator. It's like, let's take every action we possibly can to defy everything that federal law is supposed to do. And then when Trump goes in to try and fix that, we'll call him a dictator because he's in charge of doing it. It's the most sick, twisted plot you could ever think of. Let's put the citizens in a bunch of jeopardy and danger. And when Trump tries to do something about it, we'll convince a bunch of radical left-wingers that he's trying to become a monarch. He's trying to become a dictator. It's like it's so twisted. But this is what they have, because they have no message. There's not one thing that they stand for that would be palatable and would be able to be sold to the American people as a platform to base a campaign on. And that's why they're shitting their pants over the midterms next year, because I've never seen a party that looked like they were more dead in the water than the Democrats look right now. Like, they have no representative or no head of any no one at the head of their party in any respect that looks like a leader of any kind. They point to J.B. Pritzker and Gavin Newsom. Yeah, the two most radical lunatics. You got Mr. Narcissist, who can't stop looking at himself in a mirror because he just loves the way his hair looks. And then you got Governor Fat Ass, who waddles his way out there to proclaim all this ridiculous shit about how, oh, Donald Trump can't be doing this, he can't be doing that, where's my cheeseburgers? The guy is a freaking insane socialistic prick, and he's not in any way, shape, or form, like, if that's who they're going to run for presidential candidate, it's no better than Gavin Newsom. You could make the same case, like, look at what he did to Illinois, and then ask yourself if you want that to be the rest of the country, because no matter how many he wants to conflate the stats. Like, he was asked by Brett Baer. I'm gonna have to get this for the next episode, by the way. He was asked by Brett Baer why his state is suffering from the worst rates of is it violent crime overall, or was it murder? I think it was violent crime. He was trying to answer for violent crime. Like, violent crime as a whole has come down, and yet the state has the murder is the murder capital of the United States. Like, there's more murders in Chicago than there are anywhere else in the country right now. Like, by quite a bit, quite a margin, actually. And he kept trying to say, no, that's not true. Our crime is going down. Violent crime is going down. It's like, no, we're talking about murder, not violent crime, but murder. He just keeps trying to just switch the subject back to violent crime without addressing the fact that there's a murder crisis in the city. And yes, there is, because, like, the problem is that, once again, cops aren't allowed to do their job. They're not allowed to investigate, so they can't ever find anyone who's responsible for committing the crime. So people get away with murder because they're not, and that's the thing about murder in particular, is that usually when there's a spree of murders, it's like one gang or one group of people or one guy or whatever that's usually responsible for the bulk of them. And it usually has to do more than anything else at this point in time. It's usually related to gang conflict of some kind. But regardless, the point is that they can't even investigate the subject because their hands are tied, once again, because all roads lead back to, if it's someone who's a minority who's responsible, oh, we better not investigate that, because just like the methods and the lengths they'll go to keep up these narratives and ideas that get the once upon a time were, serious issues that they were able to run on and have some success with, and now people look at it, it's like, this is ridiculous, this makes no sense. Nothing's improved under you. Nothing's gotten better under you. What are we? So, I'll just go out on a limb and say that there's no way that they're going to win back even the House in the midterms, unless we see some kind of major shift where it would have to require the right to do something
incredibly fucking terribly irresponsible. And the Democrats have no plot, no point in it, and no hand in it whatsoever. Nothing to do with it. It can't be something they set up to make it look like they did something. The Republicans did something terrible. It has to be something that was only has Republican fingerprints on it, and no one else's, because we've seen this song and dance too many times. It's just happened way too much. It's happened over and over and over again, and people are finally waking up and getting wise to it. And it's a great thing, because it's long overdue. But this party has been pushing their luck and getting away with more and more and more until they're finally hitting the wall. It's like, no, we've had enough. And that's what I was saying. Like with these illegals, you can't believe how many people, like Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, go out and praise ICE and praise law enforcement for getting rid of the illegal aliens, because they're destroying even the poverty-ridden communities that already are down and out, down on their luck, and trying to hold on to some semblance of safety. And then they get a bunch of illegals in their neighborhood, and it's like, and then in comes the fentanyl, and in comes the illegal drugs, and in comes the the people with ties to the drug cartels, and boom, then the whole freaking neighborhood and the whole freaking area is a crime zone. And it's disgusting. And then when Trump's like, I don't want this city falling into chaos, we'll get the National Guard out. No, then you're a dictator. It's ridiculous. And like I said, shills like this faggot on the right are gonna keep absolutely. Oh, I don't care. Fuck YouTube. If you don't like it, whatever. I've been saying it. Like, if I get kicked off of YouTube, okay, whatever. I know I'm super small right now, and nobody's gonna pay attention. That's why I say the stuff I say. I know at some point I'll have to decide whether or not I'm gonna actually self-censor or not, and I hope that I can stay true to the fact that, because I'm not gonna. You guys know me. I'm about as moderate when it comes to like I'm definitely right leaning, but I'm very moderate in my beliefs. I've got nothing against anyone of any group for any reason other than their individual actions, and that's it. But so using the word faggot is using the word that I used when I was in high school and college and every other time in my life when that was something that meant you're an asshole, you're a loser, you're a dumbass, you're stupid, whatever other um, uh, sort of insult I can throw at you. It's just a word that was used. Now, gay people, on the other hand, I had no problem with gay people whatsoever. If you're gonna go crazy and try to censor me over using the word faggot, then sorry, there's only one authoritarian around here. Then, but um, I just had to interject with that. I've never really discussed these things, and I try not to get involved in the controversy on that part. But I know eventually it's going to be a bridge I'm going to have to cross, but geez, it's in my eye. Anyway, sorry, I got way off topic. Let me get back to this clip, but I had to get that part out, because the part that he's conveniently leaving out is that no matter how many cops you hire, it doesn't matter. They won't be allowed to do their job, so it won't make any difference.
Because he said that the federal government is breaking the law by sending the National Guard in to restore order to the cities where crime has spiraled out of control, where there's obviously a violation of federal law with all of the illegal aliens running about, and that is actually what it's for. We have a federal government in order to step in when the local and state governments fail. And so this has been used many, many times, not merely to restore order if there's some violent revolution, but even, for instance, to desegregate schools. This has been used many, many times over the course of American history. There's nothing illegal about it. And in fact, what President Trump is doing right now is one of the clearest and most just uses of the Insurrection Act.
If they go into Portland and nothing happens, but nothing is happening, it's people in T-Rex Halloween costumes who are getting maced for simply.
This is what okay. I'm sorry. This is the last thing I'm going to interject, because like I said, I didn't want to go 3 hours. I'm going to be going over 3 hours, but I'm going to cut it after this, because this episode took some real strange twists and turns. But this guy's downplaying the hell out of Portland to a degree that is just unforgivable. it's not just people in T-Rex outfits getting maced. All right. First of all, if they're in a T-Rex outfit, I don't want them there anyway because they might be a furry or a otherkin or whatever the hell they go by. And one day we're going to discuss the fur fags, and we're going to discuss that's the group that hasn't had any kind of sort of real attention that's well deserved for the Charlie Kirk thing. And trust me, I can open up Pandora's box, and you're not going to want to see everything in it. But I will be careful with what I say. But however, I am not. First of all, it's something I am very seriously concerned about. I've briefly touched on it before. I won't go into detail now, but let's just say the furry community has had some scandals in the past that would make you need to go throw up because you would be so sickened by what they do in these situations that it really is nauseating. And there was things I couldn't even listen to. I definitely couldn't watch or look at any of the material that had been created. It's I wouldn't use this word very lightly, but it's demonic. It is absolutely demonic. And it's it does happen within the furry community. The furry fandom is not without it's far more than its share of scandals. And whether you talk about zoophilia or whether you're talking about child abuse, they all happen and have happened on many occasions within that community. But the problem is that the idea of the community is so cartoonishly stupid. It's hard to always pin that face and those stupid freaking costumes to the absolute levels of just evil uh, and not just that, but unrepentant evil to the point of wanting to share the disgusting, degenerate acts they have committed with others to hopefully get them involved in it too. It's next level sadistic shit. And so anyway, but beyond that, please explain to me, Mr. Excuses, if that's all that's happening, why have I seen so many innocent people who are just standing there get the shit kicked out of them by Antifa? Why is it that there's a video I saw recently, it was Antifa, classic Antifa, where every time a guy went to go look at his phone, they went to kick him. And he looked at his phone again, they kicked the phone out of his hand. He went to go get the phone, the guy kicked him in the side, and the video cut off right as this guy was walking alongside the guy, got knocked down, knocked to the ground. He's just been kicked in the side and been hit several times. And then a guy with a pool cue is walking up, and the video cuts off as the guy's raising the pool cue over his head to slam it down on the guy's head. That's what's going on in Portland. That's the guys in T-Rex costumes running around. That's all it is. Go to hell, you fucking liar.
Exercising their First Amendment right, which
Michael,
I thought you cared about. It doesn't really seem like that's the case.
Oh God!
But they've also said that if there is
where are you getting that from? Hold on, before you make you made an argument.
I think if you would allow me to finish my point,
the Trump administration wants disorder and has admitted this. What's your evidence?
You don't like to hear people speak out, and now I'm delivering a point that you don't seem to like, and you want to silence me. That's what this administration does. It's okay. You don't have the power to do that today.
Now, Jack, to be clear, you made a statement that the Trump administration actively wanted disorder, and Michael, I think, understands it because I would ask the same thing. Where is the evidence?
It has been reported.
Where is the evidence that they wanted disorder?
It has been reported that this administration sees it as a win if unrest comes out of the deployment. It came out of Axios that they see it as a win if there is unrest because of these deployments. Because they want to say, look at this hellscape in Portland, when all of the photos that I've seen are just like people in T-Rex costumes hanging out and going to the farmer's market. And if you really want to deploy the National Guard.
That's interesting because as he's saying right there, all you're seeing is just is just people in T-Rex costumes and blah, blah. Remember how Kyle Kalinske had a video saying, "Look what's going down in Portland. It's nothing," and it was photos of Chicago before. There was a Antifa presence there in the middle of the night at the ICE facilities, and it was just a bunch of boomers that were holding up signs. He's trying to pass that off as Portland when he was showing Chicago's ICE facility. Think there might be a little misdirection going on here. Mr. No Name guy who is more than happy to just fluff the hell out of the Democrats all day and night. I just keep fluffing them constantly. It's pathetic. God.
Mike Johnson's district could certainly use it. These failing red states. If you want to talk about states that are failing, red states are failing. They need to be subsidized by California and New York, Massachusetts. These states, these Republican states that are being run into the ground. If you're talking about people who need aid and assistance, they're suckling off of California. It has nothing to do with crime-ridden, failing blue states. It's a non-issue. And this politics of subtraction. No crime in Chicago?
1 second, Michael. You think Chicago's
this politics of subtraction where you think if you just take away and take away and take away and will eventually hit a bottom, it just doesn't actually exist as a real theory. If you thought that law enforcement was the answer to this problem, Donald Trump wouldn't be cutting the budget of police across the country to the tune of billions of dollars. Like that wouldn't be happening. So you don't really have a
increase the law enforcement budget.
First of all, that's not true, which is what just took place in his budget.
Here we go. Here we go. Here, watch this. This is
untrue. That is absolutely untrue. So you don't even have this like cogent theory of policing or law enforcement that you want to see carried out.
Your argument is that the big beautiful bill did not increase law enforcement funding at the federal level.
Donald Trump has cut again and again.
Congressman, could you please clarify for our confused liberal friend here?
We need to have a long-term solution to this, and that is only by reinforcing our local law enforcement. That's what we need to do.
Did the big beautiful bill increase federal law enforcement funding?
Again, the point, Congressman, is whether in the big beautiful bill there was an increase or a decrease in federal spending for law enforcement. Which one was it?
Well, there was an increase, but look.
Okay, so then again, I come back to Jack. So Jack, your fellow left winger on the panel has just contradicted you and said, well, hang on, Congressman.
Listen to this.
Jack, you've just heard there from a Democratic congressman that the big beautiful bill actually increased federal spending on law enforcement, the opposite of what you just said.
I think he's misspeaking. Donald Trump has done nothing to increase police budgets.
He's misspeaking.
He's misspeaking. You see what I mean? You see what a piece of shit snake this guy is? He's got a congressman who just is out of his mind. I don't know. Maybe he's on shrooms or something. I have no idea what this guy does. But yeah, you got him over there saying right after he's asked the question, did the big beautiful bill? And let's just speak, honestly here. You think Donald Trump would decrease police funding? Would advocate for a decrease in funding to the police? You think he would decrease it or increase it? Honestly, anybody that answers that question and says he would decrease it is just flat out blatantly lying to your face without even having to argue the point. It's so stupid. But then to say that, first of all, say that that's the case, then to have a congressman right there say, no, there was an increase, and then to say, oh, he was misspeaking. That's a whole nother. That's just to the point of like, okay, so you don't care if people basically expose you as a fucking liar and a fraud on television or on stream or on whatever the hell it is that you're on that is being viewed by millions of people. You don't care about that as long as you get your messaging out. And as long as your messaging is out, it doesn't matter how sloppy or how stupid or how much it contradicts itself or how much it's a straw man or any kind of whatever it is, as long as you can get the slogans out like as much as possible, as you can stick to your talking points and make sure that's all that's said, like it's Hakeem Jeffries in a nutshell. Stick to the talking points, don't stray from those, and you'll be fine. No, you won't. You actually sound like a jackass, and you blow the lid off the whole thing. Congratulations, you're a fucking idiot.
Doesn't really care.
I don't think
He's
he's
in
misspeaking.
Congress. He voted.
I think one person's
Please.
misspeaking here, and it may be you.
Yeah, it may be. It may be. And or maybe it's not misspeaking, and maybe it's just the fact that he's desperately trying to figure out some way to spin this in Democrat favor, so that they don't look like complete hypocrites, liars, and just all around, manipulative pieces of trash like they are. But unfortunately, that's the case, and we're seeing such a. This is the problem, and this is why I said, look, I know that ideally we would have two parties that would be presenting in good faith two different arguments that would be arguing for a route but agreeing on a destination, on America prospering in some way, shape, or form. We don't have that right now. We have one party arguing in good faith about something they hope will lead the country in a better direction. We have one party arguing for what they hope will lead their party to more power, more seats in Congress, and the presidency. That's all they care about. That's the only thing they care about, and their agenda and getting their agenda across. See, this is what, and it just is the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense at all in this whole situation. When Barack Obama created the sort of coalition, quote unquote, of Democrat voters, they were convinced that they had a group of people that were going to vote Democrat and that was always going to be able to beat out the Republicans in the elections where it really counted. And the person most responsible for shattering that illusion is Donald Trump when he beat Hillary Clinton. They'll never forgive him for that. That's why they hate his guts so much. And then since then, what have we seen? We've seen the overturning of Roe v. Wade. We've seen the actual proposition of, lowering taxes and increasing productivity that comes out of America, like has been proposed by several economists over generations, and how that idea actually works. We've seen the idea that this ridiculous nanny state where everything has to be handled by the government agencies is a failed institution. It's overpricing us. It's leading to ridiculous inflation. And the only real fault and flaw of the whole thing, which, his first term was definitely not as productive as this one seems like it's turning out to be. But even without that, we ended up seeing, prices that got so low for gas, for groceries, for home for home ownership, for even just rent, for so much, for automotive cars, trucks, everything was going down. And then COVID happened, and even people on the left, like David Pakman, who I equally disrespect just as much as the shills we've been talking about today, even they've come out and admitted that, yeah, if the pandemic didn't happen, then Joe Biden probably wouldn't have been able to quote unquote win the election. Which, call me crazy for suggesting that even Donald Trump, who won in a landslide in the last election over Kamala Harris, got something like 78 million votes or 77 something million votes. To suggest that Joe Biden during the pandemic got legitimately with no foul play, it was the most free and fair election of our lives, right? Got over like 80 million votes, the record in history for the most votes ever in a presidential election. To say that's what Joe Biden achieved legitimately, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking mind if you're gonna try and sell me that one. But the truth is that whatever it is you want to chalk it up to, okay, Joe Biden becomes the president, and what happens? Everything that was done that was good during Trump's administration goes to hell. Why? Because he literally undoes every single thing that Trump did. Trump comes back, he starts redoing them, but with a twist on them and making them even better. Now, this was pointed out in a discussion I was watching today or yesterday, I can't remember, but if you guys remember that time period, it wasn't until like late 2018, early 2019 when the financial burden really started to lift off of Americans. Like They were really starting to feel the positive effects of his financial strategy coming into play. And unfortunately, seriously unfortunately at that point, the American people had been duped, had been convinced by the Democrats that there was something with Russia going on, and so they voted and flipped the House back to the Democrats. And what did they do? Well, they ran hearing after hearing and just kept trying to find witness after witness and somebody who would justify every single thing they did to make sure that they smeared Donald Trump every step of the way, and culminates in an impeachment over something. Who knows? Who cares? We're just going to try to impeach him. And that's what they spent their entire time on up until COVID, when they worked on that and trying to smash Donald Trump as much as possible. Like, that's what they did. And that is what they've continued to do every time they've had power. What did they do? They went after Peter Navarro. They went after Glenn Beck. Not Glenn Beck. Well, they did go after Glenn Beck, but not in the same way as Steve Bannon. There we go. They tried to get Donald Trump put away for 790 years, whatever the hell it was. An assassin almost killed him. They didn't really even seem to care too much about that. They talked about it for about a day, and that was the end of that. And we saw their reaction to Charlie Kirk. It wasn't much better. Some people tried to say a few things that were kind, but it seems like they're just completely allergic to the idea of ever saying anything positive about anyone conservative for more than about 16 to 20 hours. And after that, they can't stomach it anymore. It's a sick group of people that have taken over the left. It's an absolutely disgusting group of people. And that's why, until there is a rational Democrat Party or something to take its place, like I said, you don't have to vote or support Republicans. You can't right now support a party that ultimately really doesn't care about you. And every indication they put out shows they really care nothing about you. They couldn't care less about you. And it's blatantly obvious with every move and every action and everything they do in the Senate and the House, that no matter what it is, it's always been, doesn't matter who it hurts, we have to go after Donald Trump. They despise his voters as much as they despise him, and that's one thing that's another big difference. I'll just close on this. If you listen to Donald Trump speech after speech, point after point, you'll never hear Donald Trump one time go after Democrat voters, go after Biden voters, go after voters who vote for anyone in the Democratic Party. You'll hear him go after people on the left in power, or like candidates, or people who are in a position that is supposed to be, in the legislative branch, or someone who is in elected office. You'll hear him go after them constantly, yes. And you'll hear him go after people in the media if they have a strong left-wing bias, yes. You'll never hear him attack a Democrat voter. Meanwhile, what do you have on the left? Well, you have basket of deplorables, you have garbage, you have bitter clingers, you have, the list goes on and on. But ultimately, you have a group of people who will insult the voters, insult the politicians, insult anybody and everybody. They don't care, because they really don't like Americans in general. They tolerate their voters because that's what gives them power. But I swear, when you listen to these arguments of the Democrat Party against Trump and everything they level against him, you guys have to. I would love for somebody to argue against this. I hear nothing but projection. Every single point is something they've done or something they've tried to do. Every time. It's not even close. Like, every single thing, every time, is always something they've done. It's insane. It's absolutely crazy that they will do this time and time again. Because once again, they're complaining about Jasmine Crockett and all the death threats she's getting. Oh, poor, like I said earlier, like, poor Jasmine Crockett. She's, Why don't you ask Nick Fuentes? Why don't you ask Charlie Kirk about that? Why don't you ask Steven Crowder? Why don't you? I mean, this is the reality of the right for the last 15 years. They couldn't do anything in public without having armed guards. And you get death threats and you're raising the red flag, going crazy on every news station that'll hear you because you got some death threats. Oh, sorry, you beef a little bit. Welcome to elected office. Jeez. What, are we supposed to baby you? We're supposed to feel sorry for you? You're supposed to be taking care of us. Grow up or get the fuck out of office. This is getting to the point where it's like if people don't start demanding their leaders actually do something once in a while to prove that they give a shit about them at all, I've already kind of given up on the whole legislative branch in general, which is why the whole shutdown to me is almost like, man, whatever. But, you know, there is still a place for it as far as the Constitution goes, as far as the government structure goes. We have to have a functioning legislative branch. It would just be nice if they actually acted like they were doing anything whatsoever to represent any American citizen, and they never seem to care about that. Not, and now there are exceptions, of course. There are some definite good exceptions. Jim Jordan, of course. When you talk about people that really represent the people, Chuck Grassley, that guy has been investigating the whistleblowers in the FBI and the DOJ and like every government agency over and over again. And whistleblowers go to him because they know that he will protect their identities. He's not going to run off to the press and be trying to get a scoop. He's actually more interested in the claims than in the publicity. And so, you know, there are good people. There are some great people there. Ron Johnson, another great example. But it's just too infested with people that are far more concerned about their own um, their own status, their own public profile, and their own wallet. Quite honestly, to give a shit about anything else in that's going on in the country. So it's really a shame, but like I can say this for sure, this is not what was envisioned when the founders were creating the separate but equal branches of government that would each be, um, you know, basically hold each other to account to make sure that each one was functioning in the best interest of the people. This is proven to be the weak link is the legislative branch, and until they start acting like they give a shit about writing laws and enforcing laws that actually make sense and protect the American citizens, then you know people should not let up on demanding that we get better from our elected representatives on both sides. The left has a lot farther to go than the right, but I will say at least that that both sides really seriously need some serious changes. And shit like this is exactly the reason why. Right now, the executive, once again, has been basically handed control. While Chuck Schumer gives every impassioned speech on the floor that he wants about how evil Trump is, don't forget that he's the one who handed the keys over to him to run the government because they decided we can't sign a continuing resolution that keeps funding the government at the same levels we agreed to back in March. That's a modern politician, especially the portrait of a modern Democrat politician in 2015 or 2025. It should be 2015. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Sorry for this going on late and going on very long, but God damn it, I've been gone way too long. Sorry for the foul language as well. I'll try and keep it down. Well, next time it might even be worse because I'm gonna go into the subjects I was supposed to go into this time, but we're all over the place today. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I am back and I love it. I'm stoked as hell. I'm hoping that you know, like I said, I'm gonna do my best to be on as much as I possibly can. I can't make any promises, but I'm gonna at least try to be on tomorrow. My hope is, like I said, just to lay everything out. The hope is ultimately to get back to at least 5 days a week, if not 6. So right now I'm aiming for the 6 days a week, and that was originally Monday through Saturday. But if it's Monday through Friday, I'll take that too, and I'm sure you guys probably take that too over what's been the current schedule. But in the meantime, thank you guys once again. This was a pleasure, and I will see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care of yourselves. Have a fantastic night, and I will talk to you next time. Peace.
It speaks to that lit the fuse. It lit it by the spark that it provided. A fuse of fury was an innocent interaction that turned into a terrible, terrible headline allegation.